I call to order this city commission meeting. It is October the 9th, 2014 at 6:42. At this time, we'll have the invocation by Deacon DeLue, and following that invocation, please stand.
Join with me as we pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for being present with us today through the people that are gathered here and with the people that we serve. We ask that you be with us as we plan, as we vote, as we make decisions, and as we implement them together. Your word tells us to love you with all of our hearts, our souls, our minds, and our strength, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. Teach us, O Lord, to love you with all of our hearts and souls through the decisions that we make together. Help us to love you with our mind in the way that we discuss and we talk and we conference in what we do this evening. And may we love you with our strength, that by the small and the large tasks that we seek to implement, we will do all things as if we are doing them for you, so that we can learn to continue to love our neighbors as ourselves. Good and gracious God, we ask that you bless this city and the citizens that inhabit it. Help all of us to continue to lead with strength and courage, faith, and perseverance. Be with us now. We pray all of this in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for the prayer. At this time, roll call. Present.
Present. Present.
Here. All right, thank you. At this time, I entertain a motion of approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can we make a change under new business, making number 4 in the first position, the individuals that are involved with this particular resolution are in the audience now, would like to deal with it as soon as possible.
So you want me to move number 4 to number 1?
Yes. Under new business.
I'll help on with that.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to move number 4 to number 1. All in favor, can we say aye?
Aye.
Okay. So this time, I'll turn the motion for the
Motion to approve the
agenda.
agenda.
Yes. Instead of amendment.
Did you make a motion to approve the amendment?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay. At this time, we'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes for August the 7th Commissioner meeting, 2014.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for August 7th Commission meeting.
Second.
Okay. A motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 3-1. At this time, we have a proclamation declaring October the 31st, 2015 trick-or-treat night. I don't have it on my desk.
Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and read that for you if
Okay.
you'd like. It's proclamation of the state of Florida, city of High Springs. Whereas Halloween is the day when little witches and goblins shall come out of hiding and play their tricks and beg sweets. Whereas it is time for all grown-ups to remember when imaginations made life so much more exciting and interesting. Whereas we should all turn on our porch lights to show the way to homes of those who are still young at heart. Whereas yourself, Mr. Williams, as mayor of the city of High Springs, hereby proclaims the night of Halloween, Friday, October 31st, 2014, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. as trick-or-treat night, and asks all citizens of this community to participate in the celebration. Signed and sealed this 9th day of October 2014 AD Byron Williams, Mayor, and attested by Angela Stone, our Assistant City Clerk. The appropriate motion is to pass the proclamation as read by its entirety.
You heard the proclamation?
I'll make a motion to pass the proclamation. I want candy.
A motion and a second for more candy. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, come and saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, continue on to continue business. Review and consider approval for the Rotary Club lease for the owned property located at 605 North West 4th Street.
Mr. Mayor, we've gone over the terms of the agreement in previous meetings, so I will not summarize it again, but it's an agreement between the Rotary Club and High Springs Garden Club. I think it was pulled from the agenda or continued to this meeting so that the folks to the agreement could be here and assent to the agreement. So I think the agreement's before you, and the appropriate motion is to authorize the city officials and the parties to enter into this agreement.
All right, Commissioner, what's your pleasure?
Well, I think the only one who wasn't here, I think, was Ms. Clark. So I think if she were to just say she's in agreement, I think the other person did. And I think she didn't have a chance to read it. So I think if she's okay, then we can go ahead and make the motion.
Okay.
Susie Clark, Garden Club. Yeah, I had not received a copy of it, and it's fine with me, and it's fine with the membership. So
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you very
All
much.
right, you're welcome. Thank you. Did we clear up the issue about the insurance?
Yes. The insurance also, they asked the question whether they could abandon that agreement if their membership went down, and agreed they could. So,
Okay.
Motion to approve the agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Anyone from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor, come and saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Review and consider approval of information mail out for the trash and
We got the
recycling.
collective bargaining, don't we? Number two?
Hmm?
Continued
Oh, I'm
business.
sorry.
Continued business number two?
I'm sorry, city employees.
it is, that's right.
Okay,
The collective-
yeah. Agreement with AFSCME for a 3-year period.
The last meeting, the question was, would this enable the employees go back to a 5-day work week, and it would. It defines it both as a 10-hour and an 8-hour work week.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
The date thing was supposed to be changed. Was the date changed to make it effective October 1st? I think it was August. And I think he had no problem with the date going from October. I thought that was the other issue, was the fact that it said August 18th or something, and he was in agreement to
Yeah.
start at October 1st.
Yeah, on the front cover.
They don't say it any longer,
It doesn't, no.
but down at the bottom, it says contract period August 31st through July.
Right. We'll make sure that that's changed.
You
He
can
was in
approve it,
agreement.
Mr. Mayor, you can approve it subject to that change, so
Right.
that's certainly something you can do.
I know
Just
the
make
rep
sure.
from the union was okay. He had no
Right,
issue with it.
that's
It made
right.
sense. So I'll make a motion to approve the contract with the change of the starting date being October 1st.
I'll second.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anyone from the audience? Okay, hearing nothing. All in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. All right, now we'll move on to unfinished business. Okay, the mail out for trash and recycling. I think you gave us a copy.
I did, Mayor, Sue came in early this morning or today and had a couple changes she wanted to make. One happened to be a spelling, and the other one she wanted put in there that they had a schedule rather than it says you have to call. Now it says you also have to schedule pickup.
That you mean for the
For white goods,
White-
bulk,
Okay.
it says, it did say, please call City Hall. And now it says, please call City Hall or WCA to schedule a pickup. So
Where are
there
you
wouldn't
reading,
be any
where are you
misunderstanding.
reading that? Oh,
Right, the last sentence,
Okay.
The last bullet, Bob,
the last bullet.
right above the green there,
Yeah,
items that can be recycled.
yeah, that sentence at the end, it didn't say schedule a pickup, it does now. So that it would better define what people needed to do. If you approve this, it will then be produced and put on everybody's garbage can.
How's it gonna be distributed?
Put on garbage cans,
Who's gonna distribute it?
WCA.
How's it gonna attach to the,
Like before, a piece of scotch tape.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
one joke at a time.
Yeah.
super glue.
Super good.
When?
As soon as you approve it, it'll be probably on the next, I don't guarantee it'll be on Friday, but it probably will be the
2 to
following
3
Friday.
weeks reasonable?
2 to 3 weeks will be.
Next
I'll
Friday?
make sure that it does, or I'll go out and put them on.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, oh, there he is. Yeah,
Please come on.
I'm sorry. I'm talking to somebody.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Brad Avery with WCA. City manager does a really good job there, so I didn't want to interrupt him. If you would like to, leave it to council's discretion, as soon as it's approved, we can have this thing printed and to get it out there quicker, we could have it in the mail in the next 72 hours. And then that way they'd have it all before the next collection day, which tomorrow is collection day, but we could catch it before next week. So that might be a better way to do, and I don't have a problem with mailing it. We'll pay the expense for it.
No problem with that.
I would prefer to see it mailed, with some kind of, if it's folded, something that says, gets their attention so it doesn't get recycled, but yeah.
Absolutely.
And then just give extra copies to the downstairs.
You'll make sure that the staff gets a good handful of it. And we've also checked, the last time when I was up here, we discussed about putting this onto either like on a web page, so that way when residents go to the city website, they could actually click on it and kind of read it. That's not a problem. We'll just take that actual sheet and put that up, and
Yeah, the
that'll make it
office
easy
can,
for them.
the office can get it up, and then High Springs Fire Department has a Facebook page now, so does the police department.
Yes.
They can all just keep shooting it out all over the place, so. Once we get it on the website, then we can link to it, so.
Sure.
I certainly would have liked to have gotten a second can, but that doesn't seem to be what I'm gonna get. So I'll agree, I'll make a motion to approve this flyer and get it out to the public in the mail.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Anyone from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a second can either, Mr. Barnes. I'm sorry, I'm Gloria James. But I do have a blue can with wheels on it that I use to put the yard trash in. With collection day being tomorrow, Friday, that can has been sitting out there for 3 weeks now waiting to be picked up. It's been rained on and it smelled, but it's still sitting there waiting for somebody to pick it up. So tomorrow when they come, I hope they take that yard trash with them, along with the regular trash.
Right. And if you give this young man your address,
Address.
he will make sure it happens.
Anyone else? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
When residents, business people have questions with their bills, so forth and so on. Last meeting, you said they should call the service. Should they talk to you first?
Well, if they have, yeah, with the bills and that, it should be us. And then we'll talk with Jennifer and.
Shouldn't they also be talking with you as well? I mean, if there is a problem, and then you direct them, or?
Special businesses, yes.
Yeah, okay. Maybe on the website, we can make that really clear, steps to take. Because I get a lot of calls.
Right.
Still. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 2, discuss code enforcement incidents and the authority of code enforcement.
Well, we discussed this last meeting, and I don't think we really got anywhere. But having discussed this with the fire department, they are willing to take it on. I think the problem in the city is code enforcement takes tact. You know, anytime you tell somebody that their yard's too tall or it's messy or whatever, they take it personal. You have to be a really tactful individual to do so. And I went and got a certificate from the state of Florida many years ago, so that I knew what the rules were. I think the fire department is best suited to go ahead and take that duty on. We will shift the funds to them, and I think we'll have less problems. They also do many of the code enforcement already as it comes to fire and many of the other issues, so they're already part of it. We might as well turn the whole thing over to them, and that's my opinion.
Mr. Mayor, I put this on the agenda. I'm glad that the city manager referred to how it has to be done, and I support that. If you would like a motion, we can make a motion to that, and I'll do that, and we'll see if there's a vote to do it. But I wanted to address the incident that again happened on Main Street, and I think I talked to the office about it. But for the public's knowledge of this, on Main Street, Jody's Barber Shop did a fundraiser for that family that had the tragedy in Bell. They were doing it on a Friday, 2 Fridays ago, and they took the sandwich board and put it in the parked truck on the road. Codes enforcement told them they couldn't put that sandwich board in there. It was in violation of a wind load. There was an argument between several people there. They finally tied it down with a rope, as I understand it, and they finished their fundraising and raised over $1,500 for that family. I just felt we had no position as a city getting involved with what was on a state highway in a personal truck. And it was, I brought this to your attention to bring up this issue and consider having fire department take over codes, but also for you to consider taking the time, go over to Jody's, Sheffield's, and the music guy, I don't know his name, Perry, and just say hi to him and tell him.
We apologize for over exuberance in code enforcement.
And that's all. And so I'll make a motion that we direct the city manager to do what's necessary to move codes to the fire department.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Courtney, you have?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say that ordinance 2008-27 is ordinance, a code enforcement board ordinance that you guys have. In that section, it provides for the designation of a code enforcement officer and appropriate training for the officer as determined by the city manager. So you can make that motion and then it can be pursuant to section 2-177 of our code ordinance.
What was the?
This is section 2-177, code enforcement citation procedures. And it provides for designation of a code enforcement officer.
So you would like to amend that motion? Or I'll amend my motion to make it conform with 2-177 code enforcement citation.
I'll amend the second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner,
I'm not going to be for it. And let me just tell you why on the deal is all we've heard over the last several months from the fire department is how their number of trips are increasing and the added work that they're doing. So I'm concerned that we would get an adequate job out of somebody whose first priority is to put out fires in the code. If we have an issue with the code enforcement officer, hire a new code enforcement officer. I just think, I understand the reasoning behind it, but I just think we're going to ask a fire department now who just had an article in the paper the other day talking about, how much more their trips are. And now we're going to tell them you have to work around your downtime to do code enforcement. I know it's been done in the past. I just don't think that's the logical. I understand the reasoning, but I think if there's an issue, you get a new code enforcement person and you train them and you put them out there. So that's mine. And that's the reason why.
And I agree. The idea is to do just that, but to put them underneath the fire department for more supervision rather than where they're at now.
That's not what's been proposed. Proposed is to have the fire department do it.
Well,
This won't be a fire department person, so let's make sure we understand on the deal. You're going to hire, are we going to have, does this proposal have firemen doing the code enforcement?
If he's paid off duty to do it, I'm not going to try to dictate to a department who they're hiring. I'm just giving the function to the fire department and giving him the money to be able to hire somebody.
So if he wanted to hire somebody separate, he would be the person that would hire the code enforcement officer?
Yes, sir. I mean, actually, I signed off on it, but
Right, you'd have to go through it.
But he would do the selections, similar to the police department or
No,
the rest of the
I've got that. I just think it's a little vague where we're at here, that's all, on the motion. So maybe Mr. Barnes?
Commissioner Barnes?
My motion was can you read it back or do you have it? It was to direct the city manager to do that. Okay, and the motion was to direct the city manager to shift code enforcements to under the fire department.
Yes,
and then we added this section with 2.1-177 that it has a requirement for a code enforcement person. So that's what it is. City manager, if he feels that the fire department can handle that, he just designates a person over there. That's his job. It's not my job. That's not our job. I want code enforcement. My motion was to direct him to do it. If he can do it, he'll do it. If he can't do it, he'll come back to us, I'm sure. And we've talked about this in the past. In the last meeting when we suggested going to the police, that didn't fly, but
Right.
It was said we've done it in the past with fire department. So while they are busy, it is a good function, and I know other cities use their fire department as well.
Any other discussion? Anyone from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion came back. You standing to speak, sir?
Mr. Mayor, my name's Mike Kearney. I'm glad to see this is being done. I have studied some of the rules regarding codes enforcement, and codes enforcement officer has to be working for one of the city departments. So that's while they fall under the command of whatever department you put him in, codes enforcement officer will be, he knows what the rules and regulations are. But where we do have a problem is you as a commission, you need to wake up your codes enforcement board and put it back in place. Because one of the problems you have is you have a codes enforcement officer who's going out and trying to supposedly nicely get people to abide by the codes that are in place. And if they feel that the person feels that they're in the right and codes enforcement isn't, they literally have the right to go before a codes enforcement board. And if you don't have a codes enforcement board and a proper citation fine schedule in place, you're defeating totally the purpose of the codes enforcement person. So I would just like to suggest to the codes board, to the commission, that they, at this point, I think it's great that we're doing this, and that we get a proper codes board put back in place. If we're lucky, the resolutions will be handled long before it goes to a codes enforcement board. But we are supposed to have you're either supposed to have a codes enforcement board in place, or you have to have a magistrate. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mayor, commissioners, my name is Teresa Martin. I was not intending to speak about the codes issue, but I feel like I should. I really do feel that you should have somebody qualified to do that job. It's a very important job to enforce the codes, and I do not think that you can ask, as Commissioner Jameson said, the firemen who have their job to do. Their job is to be firemen. We had a codes enforcement officer here in High Springs. Maybe we really do need a codes enforcement officer, because a codes enforcement officer is properly trained and understands all the things that go along with codes. Now, a fireman does understand the regulations that go with being fire safe. So I would agree that I think that you need to hire someone who is qualified for that job, and not expect that, I'm not sure, is it the city engineer who is being the codes enforcement officer right now? Because I'm not sure.
We have someone in that position there right now, but we're getting ready to turn it over to the fire department. He's going to.
No, my question was, is it a codes enforcement officer? Is that specifically his title?
Yes.
That's what I was wondering, and I still think that that's the way to go. Instead of asking the firemen to do more, you're asking them to double up. We want them to continue to do their job, and we want the codes enforcement to do his job, because he's for the citizens and the businesses. And again, like another gentleman said, is when they ask you to comply with the and that board, just like they do in Gainesville, then you have an opportunity to speak in front of the board about codes enforcement. I realize we're all working on a very tight budget, but I think it's a little much to ask the firemen to do the codes enforcement, because they did that before with the previous codes enforcement, and they had the fire chief was the codes enforcement while for a short time, I believe. In a few years past. Is that not correct? The former police chief was the codes enforcement officer for.
I don't think so.
I don't remember that.
Well, he was. He came to my house with a gold badge. He was being the codes enforcement officer. So I believe a codesman officer, it's like hiring an architect to build your home. You want to hire a professional. You want somebody who knows their job well. That's my suggestion. I would think that we would be best to have someone who's a professional codes enforcement, and someone that's their background, that's their field.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Bill Richards. I just want to address something very quickly. Your code enforcer, George, who I know, he's done a great job. When I've talked to George, his problem has been he just doesn't have enough time to do what he needs to do. Now, I live on 2nd and 10th Street, okay? I got the 2-story house that I'm redoing. My problem is, and I've gone through the area from 10th Street to probably 16th Street, from First Avenue to 441, okay? Right now, there's at least 4 or 5 cars that don't have tags, okay, that have been sitting for quite a long time. I know of at least 3 travel trailers that are sitting in yards that are not plated, which is against, you know, the codes. Sitting there for quite a long time. Back on probably 4th or 5th Avenue in 13th, I'm not sure exactly. You have 2 dumpsters. I don't know if anybody's seen them, big dumpsters. That stuff is growing out of them. They've been sitting so long. So I know, talking to George, that the problem is there's not enough staffing to do this job. And I can tell you, every time I've called George about little things, he comes right out and takes care of it. Sometimes he can be a little rough, but you know what? It's a tough job. It really is. So however you guys decide to do this, my main concern is that we start addressing these issues. My part of town where I live seems to be the worst part of High Springs with these issues, as far as I'm concerned. I could be wrong. I'm not sure on the other side of the tracks. I really don't know that area that well. But I can tell you from 10th to 16th, right now, there's at least 10 violations, whether it be cars, travel trailers, dumpsters sitting in the yard for years. And I hope whoever takes it over will start looking at this stuff, especially the trailers and the cars. There's just no reason for it, you know, and somebody has to go out there and take care of this. Now, the only way George does it, from what I understand, is if he gets a call. And he is so busy with these calls, he doesn't have the time just to go out and search these problems out and take care of them. Okay. The other thing is, I'm talking to George and Mr. Barnes, you got homes that are, nobody lives in them. They're just falling apart, you know. So I personally, if there's anything I could do, volunteer or do some background work. I mean, I'm a real estate broker. If there's anything I could do personally to help behind the scenes as a volunteer or something, I'd be more than happy to do it. But I think that we need a board. I think these issues should come up and start really pushing these residents to do something. Because I've been here for 4 years. I've rehabbed 2 houses. I've been living in High Springs. It's time something gets done. And it just seems to be, for me, just this one area. I can't speak. I mean, I'll go to the other side of town, and everything looks nice, really looks nice. But for some reason, this one section, there's violations in there like you wouldn't believe. And I know you're a pastor there on 13th Street. There's a lot of problems over there. There really is. So I just wanted to give my opinion, but I would love to see a board. I mean, I'm from a town in Illinois where we had a blight. We called it blight, is what we called it. I don't know if you guys ever used that term, but we had a board that met once a month. It was a volunteer board, and we took these issues on, and we were pretty good. I mean, we kept our city pretty good. And we're really lacking at this in High Springs, in my area. I can't speak for anywhere else. I've gone down there many times, just drove around to look around, hoping to get, since this was brought up today, I just want to get your attention. But I really love to see a board, because I think that's the solution, working with, I mean, the fire department's great, and I just don't know how much time they're going to be able to pursue these issues. And they need to be looked at. They really do. It's pretty bad. Pretty sad, too. It really is pretty sad. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Chief Gillingham.
Fire Chief Bruce Gillingham. Quick history lesson. We had a code enforcement officer. It was moved to the fire department. At the time, the fire department had a captain of operations, and we had a fire chief. Captain of operations was handling the life safety issues with fire inspections and code enforcement side there. Fire chief was handling the other side of code enforcement, vehicles in the yards, trailers in the yards, things along those lines, dilapidated structures. Somewhere along the lines, I took it over after Chief Regal was gone. I didn't have enough time. George was hired by the previous city manager, was under the fire department. That city manager decided to move that position back over to the planning, development, and code. We were working together. We were starting to get things going. We had things starting to line up. We were starting to move in a positive direction. From my understanding in my discussions with Mr. Booth, and I'm hoping I understood it correctly, there's no discussion of doing away with the code position. We're trying to realign everything, get the board back in place, get the priorities straight, and refocus on what is important to get the priorities with the cars that are in the yards and things like that. I'm already handling the life safety issues. I'm already handling the issues that are in the building. Now, granted, and we'll use the individual's name right now, George is doing a lot of the paperwork because I'm running in about 45 directions, depending on the day. But that seems to be the huge disconnect right now, is trying to focus on the priorities to get to where we need to be. And try to have one common goal, because I'm going this direction, code enforcement's going this direction, and the building official's going this direction. We all need to get on the same page and try to get the goal right. So when we talked about it, and yes, you're 100% right, am I busy? I'm pulling my hair out in 15 different directions. I'm not going to deny it. But I am already dealing with a portion of this. And like the city manager said, we're not looking at doing away with that. We're realigning and trying to get things going in a more copacetic direction, if you will. So if you have any questions for me, let me know. The Code Enforcement Board needs to come back into play. That is what you would use and the business owners would use. Even if I go in and do a fire inspection and you don't agree with it and you want to appeal it and I ding you, that is who they would go to appeal it. That board hasn't been in place in a couple of years. Granted, we haven't needed the board in a couple of years, thankfully, but we can't run off that logic. We have to get to the point to where we got to have the systems in place to make this work.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
Well, I just real quick, then I'll stand, Bruce, just to clarify something, then I'll stand corrected. And I'll go on this one. So I just want to make sure on the deal on this, all you're doing then is a structural change. The code enforcement will simply align underneath the fire chief. You'll still have the position. My understanding is that the office, you all would be doing it.
No.
This is strictly a structural change.
Yeah, this is a structural change. Yes, we will be doing it. And
I got it, you've got some, but you'll still keep the position, but he will be underneath you.
However we decide to fill that position.
Or however the city manager decides with what Mr. Barnes said. Okay.
Basically, right now, we're looking for the realignment. How we're going to go about doing it at this point. Right now, we're just restructuring because there is an issue we need to figure it out.
And that's what he said in his proposal. So, I mean, that's to clarify. So okay, thank you.
Yeah, whether we hire somebody else, we keep who's there, we go, we're sitting down and really, this is going to be looked at, the whole global aspect of this is going to be sat down, picked apart, started over, and we're going to make it right.
Thank you.
One comment, we tried to set up a board meeting this month, and we found out we only have 2 members. We will be coming back to you for recommendations to put on that board.
I just was going to say the board has been appointed and it's been in place, that they just have not met in a couple of years. I mean, in 2012, I know it was intact, but there were no meetings in 2013.
No.
Or this year. So that's the problem. It's just kind of jumpstart and get it rolling again.
Okay.
Final comment. You're right, absolutely, people. That we need the board in place. The board has to be there. If you're writing a citation that has a grievance procedure and there's no board, what good is to write the grievance if there's no board to take it to? So I look forward to whatever happens after this vote, and that we as a commission in the coming months resurrect a good code enforcement board. Thank you.
So could we make some kind of note to Jen to make sure she would advertise that for code enforcement board? Okay. No more questions or comments? All in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Moving on to item number 3, update from city manager on the police chief search.
Yes, we're setting up for interviews towards the end of the month. We have 3 other members, and some of them are very busy, so the meeting will be set up based on their availability, and then we'll call in the 6 to 7 individuals that we're going to interview. We're going to interview more this time. We have 14 new applicants. We'll find a new police chief out.
So we do have applicants, because I noticed on the website that the job isn't advertised anymore.
That's correct. I
So-
have 14 new ones and 6 people applied that had applied last time.
So when do you think there'll be you get that?
At the end
group?
of the month,
Okay.
we'll have a selected one.
That's good enough for me. I put it on the agenda just to know that. I didn't know that we had that many applicants. It's good to know. Thank you. I have nothing else on it.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving on, item number 4, update from the city attorney on Plantation Oak tax abatement.
Mr. Mayor, Courtney's been shepherding this one, so I'll let her kind of speak to it, but she's waiting on information to come back from the property appraiser's office at this step, which was one of the steps along the way in order to manage the tax abatement. In this instance, it's for Plantation Oaks. And I will say that in reviewing the file, not completely at this stage, but this is going to be difficult to implement a tax abatement. Based on the statutory provisions in our ordinance, it may be very difficult to get this accomplished, in that there are certain time frames that steps need to be taken, and I'm not sure that the application was sufficiently done, number one, and secondly, timely done in accordance with the procedural aspects of it. So with that, we'll look into it further, and we're not ready to either pull the plug or suggest that be done at this point. But we're going through the process and getting all the information on it, and we'll fully report back at some stage in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Bonner?
Scott, that's not what I wanted to hear. It's one of the saddest reflections I'm going to say I've seen on this commission, on the city. We're trying to, from trying to attract business to the city of High Springs. Most commissioners that have run for a position have said something in the press, said something in a speech, said something in a flyer. I want to bring jobs to the city of High Springs. We need living wage jobs. We need employment. And the best way that everybody else in this whole state is bringing them, from the governor on to cities like Alachua, is tax incentives. And here's our example that we're setting for these businesses. It's gonna be a sad day if this doesn't get approved. It's a black eye. And whoever is sitting in these commission seats in the coming years, you need to really seriously look at how you're gonna put this together and attract business and give them the incentives they need. Remember, this guy, Plantation Oaks, took a building that was generating, I'll go back even further. That building, when it was as a hotel, was generating a pile of tax dollars. And when the hotel, remember, you weren't here, but that hotel was going out of business. And everybody was in shock on how they were going to lose that tax revenue and everything. And then they all were happy when Camp Calacqua bought it, but then they said, oops, we just lost the tax revenue. But now we brought it back. And there has to be some incentive there. So disappointed to hear that. Where it goes, I hope it goes in a good direction. Been a good partner for this town. So We'll see. I have nothing else, Mayor.
Anyone else?
I have questions.
Yes.
Concerning this property with the expansion, I would think the bare land and it, I don't know exactly what the amount of money it costs them to expand and build the new department they have.
My understanding is $2.6 million, so
That
it's
should qualify.
extensive. It's extensive.
In some way, it certainly meets the criteria of being vacant and then building something on it, taking it a step beyond when they first came to town. At the time, in 2012, the county was asking us to pass it to them to let them review it, and it never got that far for whatever reason. But I would be looking at the second part of where they've expanded the building.
I think that's a good point, and I will be the first to say we don't have all the facts yet to apply to where we're at. And my understanding of your collective decision and the direction you've given the city attorney's office is that this is in play, and we believe this was the appropriate way this was supposed to go. So we're not ready to say no at this point, but it's not going to be necessarily an easy one to overcome some of the obstacles that are there. But we'll look at it and make sure we have all the facts before we give you a final report on it, one way or the other.
I appreciate that because that second part, their expansion, what they built, that actually, it really does qualify from what we were told when it was first developed as an ordinance. And I'm glad you're going to look at that because they have waited, 3-4 years, and we still can't bring it to a resolution. So, thank you.
Commissioner Jameson?
Yeah, I don't want to be argumentative on this thing here, but I want to make sure, and my dad was private business for 43 years, but I would agree with bringing him in here, but let's make sure we understand on the process. And I think I was the only one who voted against it, so I'll make sure that's full disclosure. They didn't do the process. It didn't pass. If you're going to have a process to allow somebody to get a tax abatement, there's a process to be done. They didn't pass it. They didn't have it on time, and they didn't meet the requirements. Done deal. Now, if we want to make exceptions to people who don't qualify for things, then don't have the process. Let's just arbitrarily pick people. So, I understand the passion. I truly do. But if you're not going to have a process and stick by it and hold to it, then why have it? Just pick and choose who you want to get the abatement and don't worry about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay. So, they didn't go through the procedure, whatever. So, at this time, do they meet the qualifications and condition? I'm just thinking.
Well, originally, my understanding of the time frame is the original purchase was in 2010. The application came in 2012, and you have to have your application in prior to the purchase of the facility. Now, I think Commissioner Giestrin is exactly right. The expansion occurred after the application. But from my limited review of it so far and where we're at, whether the application is sufficient is also a question mark. And, we've got to make sure that it meets all the requirements of the law. And we're not done with it just yet, but there appears to be some red flags there that need to be satisfied so that we are playing under the rules. If you don't meet the rules, Commissioner Jameson is exactly right. You cannot not follow the law. So we have to make sure that it's all there.
Commissioner Barnes?
I will recall and will say, yes, there was a question when the dates came in. But we as a commission, the commission that was here, told them we're going to get this through. We're going to help you get it through. We never told him, this city, no staff, I don't believe, nobody ever went to him and said, now, this old one's no good. Get a new one in on the expansion, and that's the one we'll work with. I don't believe anybody, I never did. I don't know if anybody staff did, anybody met with them and said, here's what we need to do to really make this work with you. That's the problem I'm really having. We knew they had the expansion coming. They asked for it. Why didn't we just shift this all over from the old one to the new one back then? Now, what's going to happen now is we're going to say, well, you missed the boat on the expansion too. But they have been told many times, it's gone to the county, it's being worked on, we're working on it, we got it under control. And this commission, I believe, even made a vote to say, move it forward. I believe there was a vote that said, move it forward. So, once again, this is a thing I think that the commission felt was working properly. Now we're finding out it's not. And whose fault is that? Theirs? Don't know.
Commissioner Gesser?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to readdress, there was never, that I'm aware of, any attempt by any commission to circumvent rules. But because the decisions being made were so close, the county had asked us to allow them to review it before it was said and done. But it wasn't any part, I mean, I know a past mayor, they're trying to make it look like it was his kind of deal he was cutting. It wasn't. We were trying to satisfy what the county was asking of us, so it was our first time, and it was to be reviewed by them, by the board, and to follow process. It was not, I wish there was the rules being applied the same for everybody. I wish that did happen on a regular basis, because I see more exceptions, like with sewer and people that are on the sewer, not on the sewer. I mean, I wish it was cut and dry. It hasn't been with everything. I mean, we're going to make everybody hook up to the sewer within 200 feet, but yet contracts were made giving exceptions where businesses didn't have to do it, like the pipe plant, which was made long before we ever, we were elected. And like we're dealing with a contract that was approved and made, 2005 that we're paying for now. We have to really be careful of the decisions we make, because it doesn't just end this year. So we're trying to follow the process. So, due process for everybody, whether you're an employee or a business or a resident. Equal application. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so
we'll keep
do your
working on
research
it.
and
We'll keep at it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure.
Moving on to citizen requests and comments for issues not on the agenda. Please give your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Is this the only opportunity to?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. First of all, I would like to say congratulations on the new building for the farmers market. That is a real accomplishment. I really hope to see this move forward. I hear they're going to break ground, for any of you don't know, January. I really want to see this happen. I like to support my local farmers, my local businesses. God bless. Let's see that happen. It's very important to this community. Sorry, I thought. As some of you do and don't know, and I just now was reading the agenda, I was not aware of item number 4. So, all right. I just handed a picture to Officer Higginbottom. I will now show you this picture. I ran into this truck when I was driving out of my house, Southwest 13th Street. I've never seen this vehicle before. The tag number N64TIZ. I asked the man what he was doing out there on the CSX property. I'm backing up, leaving my home. And the man asked me what I'm doing. He staying on the CSX property, then he crossed over the property. I said, what are you doing here? He said, can he help me? I said, no, sir, how can I help you? And he proceeded to continue to harass me. He told me he owned property behind me, pointing back toward the CSX road. Then he pointed to the land in front of me, which used to be owned by a former person. I'm not exactly sure who owns that property now. This is where he is. He is on that property. He's on the left-hand side of the tracks. He crossed over 13th Street and he's on that road and he's telling me he owns the road. He's clearly was out there looking for deer. And I'm gonna now give a picture. I'm sorry, I'll wait till he comes back. Because after I saw you the other night and you asked me to go into the High Springs Police Department, and I did, and I gave him the photograph, and I asked for some, address to the situation. And what I'm really asking right now is, what can we do with CSX to put up some signs that say, I don't want to lose my place. I wrote it on here. No trespassing, no hunting, and no dumping. I really want those signs up out there because I am becoming fearful. Not only was this silver F-150 out there and threatening me on my road, leaving my residence. 2 other vehicles were out there the other night, a blue truck and then another, an older blue Bronco with a white top. My daughter called me. I was visiting a friend out 236, and she told me 2 other vehicles, one backed all the way up to my mailbox. I don't know how we can, and how can we please work together to stop the traffic that is coming along the CSX property, because when you try to contact CSX, they claim that they lease the property to somebody else. They do not want to claim any responsibility for what is going on out there. A lot of dumping. It's a problem. Can we agree that there's a problem out there? I really don't know. I want to help to come to a solution to stop the traffic around there, the dumping. We have a dump right up the street. I do believe that posting signs, and the sheriff's office on the Hawthorne Rail Trail has big signs, all the people that live along the trail, that say, no trespassing. And the sheriff's green signs are very effective. Now, can we work with the Lodge County Sheriff's Office to get some postings up? Maybe that might be part of the solution. They need to know that if you break the law, then you have to be accountable to the law. That's my biggest concern. My other concern was, and I just want to share with you, this was the article that the High Springs Herald printed back in 2009. I went into the Historical Society last Friday and found this article sitting on the diorama. I asked Mr. Watson to remove it. I said, why? You have this article there about the mystery. I asked him nicely in front of another gentleman named Bill and his wife Linda, would he please remove this article from the diorama? I don't think it belongs there. Nobody needs to be looking for the mystery in the woods. It's very dangerous out there. There's a lot of rusty wood. I'm sorry. I'm out of time.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
I appreciate.
Give me your picture.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I found the picture.
Right.
This vehicle, the tag number is on the back.
And the
Thank you
chief,
for listening. I appreciate any of your support and help.
is the chief of police was listening, and I'm sure you will take action.
I even spoke to his father this morning.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And congratulations again. Oh, that article.
Mr. Kernan?
You can follow that.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, my name's Mike Kearney. Yeah, part of me wanted to come up, part of me didn't want to come up. I don't know which part was which, and I had to leave for a few minutes during this last discussion about the tax abatement. I own property here in this town, and we've been talking to somebody that wanted to do some development on that property. And so I assume that the proper way to ask for any kind of abatements, i.e. sewer fees or whatever, would be to come to our city manager and start the procedure. And you would do this before there was any contracts. Like, why do I have the right to ask for an abatement after I've already contracted to do the job? And from a personal standpoint, you know, on this other situation, the tax abatement should have been asked before they started for the project. So that's my only comment. I think we do have a procedure for tax abatements or requests for the city to give special preferences. And there are times when a citizen is due special preference, but that special preference is before the situation, not after it. Thank you.
Ron Andrews, 25th Terrace, Hay Spring. I tried to avoid coming to speak to you about a couple of issues. I've asked about Railroad Avenue to 25th Terrace being cut. Just before I came in today, commission meeting, they cut Railroad Avenue. They avoided to 25th Terrace. I thought I was going to have to turn over a ticket of my wreckage of my vehicle again to you all to take care of, because we have almost been hit several times because that area has grown up so much. But unfortunately, they cut Railroad Avenue today, like I said a few minutes before I came in. To 25th Terrace, I'm asking for the road to be cut and also that pavement that they call themselves putting out there need to be taken up. It is an eyesore. It is a drainage ditch and everything else. In front of my house, Reverend William, you know, no one can come down there and come in front of my house. Or I can't even come in my driveway anymore. I have to come in through my yard now. So I'm asking, because my house is dropping, and I don't know if you all want to rebuild me a house or whatever you want to do, it's fine with me. But I've come before you so many times, and I've asked so many times for something to be done down there. Now I want it to go on record again. I'm begging you, do something, because I'm really tired of it. Thank you.
I'll go out there on Monday. I'll take David and we'll take a look.
Anyone else? Okay, so we're moving on to new business. Discuss the resolution on easement issues due to the Palmer Street closing. We're moving forward to one. Those came in late.
Can you get that overhead up there? I believe, Mr. Mayor, I think the Palmers put that on the agenda. Angela, was it?
Yes.
Not
I mean, the Peacocks put that on the agenda. Peacocks put that on the agenda, and he's talked to me several times since then. And I've been out to that property a couple times, and if we can get this overhead on, I think what Mr. Peacock would like to do, he'd like to talk, but I'm gonna give you an overview of what I've found out in the last several weeks. Is that interactive on the computer, or is it just a picture? You know, meaning if you were to... And I'm gonna try and, can you all hear me, and am I recording?
Yes, we can hear you.
What we had done as a city was we took an application to close a portion of Southwest 13th Street. We took an application that said nobody was using that street, and we never notified all the people that bordered it. Can you zoom that so it go the other way? Zoom it out. A little bit more. A little bit more. I'm trying to get down to the corner of the property. Down. You can go there. Down in this corner, right here, 13th Street, came down to here, and then Second Street comes this way. We closed the road in between two parcels here to give it to the Palmer family. I believe that's what it was. And we did that. But we were told as a commission, it didn't border anybody else's property. If we were to look at the property appraiser site, which is the lots, that's not true. That's the other problem that we're gonna run into, and that we've created as a city now, that we've closed that road off. And the survey's been done, and I'm gonna also mention something else. What you don't see here, folks, is there's a road, 13th Street comes here, 2nd Street comes here. Over here, there's streets all in here platted that are City of High Springs streets. They're not there, but they're platted as our streets. And this is state property here, this is CSX property here, but we have streets platted in it. So some people assume that they got that street, and that was their street. We closed it off. Can you zoom back in again to that other picture? Where we had it right in there. That's pretty good right there. Leave it there. What we found, and we did a survey, or the people that were buying the property did a survey. This is 13th Street. Actually, this is where that young lady lives, right here in this house. This is her house right here. 13th Street, by the survey stakes, and there's a fence here, runs down here and goes to the corner. 13th Street over the years has become the driveway to her house. But the street actually goes here.
Still there.
It's 60 feet wide, and there's stakes there. There's a fence over here from her house right here, and that street goes this way. The street, and we were told, and we believe that street went through, or the house was in the street.
Right.
The reality is, the stakes are not. They go here. That street 13th goes down here. There's no street there. It's dirt, trees.
Right.
And I don't know what we're gonna do, but the problem that the Palmer have is by closing that street, we thought we took out access to their property. So the Palmers, I think, want one of two things. They would like to just come here tonight, and I started talking to them to open that street back up, to take it back, because the guy didn't fill out the application properly, we didn't do the right things, and I firmly believe as a city commissioner, we thought we were doing the right thing, but we closed that street off. The Palmers, the people that bought the property, the people that filed for the closing of the road, and that's the Palmers. That's the Palmers. The Palmers got that road closed and sold it to a relative. That property's sold now. So, as I thought maybe we were doing them a favor to close the road and give them a piece of property, they sold it. What's the solution? The Peacocks are here to look for a solution. They may not use that road every day now for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, but if at some point they start dividing their 40 acres up, that back portion of that property comes landlocked. But what you can't see on this picture, and I need to get you another picture, there is another solution. Down to that triangle, and I'll show you on a map later, down to that corner of that property, 13th Street would come straight down, and then it cuts over on 2nd Street to another portion of the Peacock property, and they would actually have access to the back of that road, 2nd to 13th, and come out. But here in saying everything I've said, here's the problem. If we have, and this is for you to listen to, Scott, now, if we have a road that's a city road that's not used, can't be used because there's trees on it now, whose responsibility is it to get that road clear?
Well, first of all, if it's a platted road right of way, whether or not it's lined with trees or overgrown or whatever, it's still a city road right of way, and the sovereign cannot be adversely possessed. So even if you build into our city road right of way, or you fence it, or you do whatever it is, that's a city road right of way and stays as a city road right of way until such time as we need it or want to use it. And so in this instance, if it's a platted road right of way and we wanted to clear the road and open it up, chip seal it, pave it, whatever you're going to do, then or even just lime rock it. You can do that as long as you're within those markers of the 60-foot road right of way. Then you're entitled to do that. Somebody's got their fence in the way. Somebody's built a house on it. Doesn't matter. It's the city's property.
I guess maybe I didn't word that correctly, but if the Peacocks, if that road's there, it's platted as a road, and I can show you can go to the property appraiser site and you'll see that there's a road platted there. And the Peacocks say, I want to start using that road now. Come out second and then up 13th.
Yeah, it's
whose job is it? Whose job then does it become to open that road up?
It's only your job if you choose to make it your job. In other words, if you want to use some of your city money to open it up or maintain it or create the road right away, then you can do so. But it's a platted road right away, usable to the public.
Exactly.
So it's
now,
somebody can open the road up if that's what they so choose to do.
Now
Nobody owns that property other than the city, in other words.
The other problem is I was out there, I believe, last night or the night before, and I went right down that road that you can see on that picture, and it goes right to that young lady's house, and there's no trespassing signs there, and that road ends there. But it's really, the real road is over a little farther. So I think she legitimately has no trespassing signs on her little side
Maybe
of it.
not. Maybe not.
But
That's another whole issue, that there's a statutory provision that says that if we maintain a road right of way for 4 years, it's our city road. Whether you hear the term pig trails.
Yeah.
And they wander all on and off platted road right of ways. And then we have our grader that goes out there periodically. And one of the reasons why you want to keep up your maintenance maps for your road department is that if they're maintaining from this fence line to this fence line a pig trail that runs off the road right of way, that the rule that I just announced doesn't work the other way. We can gain your property by maintaining a road right of way for a 4-year period of time. So it becomes a factual issue to study.
So bottom line, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for letting me just finish. The Peacocks feel that we landlocked them, or landlocked the backside of their property, which was their original family access to that they used 30, 40 years ago. They did get another access to their property, but they anticipate in the next 5, 10, 15 years that this property will get divided up, and the back portion will need that road to get out. I know this is a stretch to say we need to start thinking about clearing that road out and making it usable, but that would only benefit the Peacocks and now the Palmers. No, the McMillans. Palmer sold it to McMillan, and McMillans are now landlocked. So my first comment is, ma'am, before we ever do this again, we need to make sure that what we got is what we got. This application that was submitted to us, it didn't tell the whole story. In the letter that was attached to it, that said the Peacocks don't use that road, and they probably haven't, but it was their family access. He didn't tell us all the facts when we read this and got it, and he sold it. So I think that we probably should let the Peacocks speak and see what they'd really like to ask the city. But bottom line is, we as a commission should have really maybe put our boots on like I did the other day and gone out in the woods and seen where this goes. But
if I'm not mistaken, I tried to tell y'all that road went up to the Peacock's property, but nobody listened. True enough. true enough, I can't remember how many years ago it's been since they used the road, but I know that road did not come up to her property as far as it is over at this point. That road went past that house and came up to the Peacock's property. And which that probably was the right road where that fence is, but where it is right now.
They've
in front-
eventually made and used that road.
Yeah.
It's worn out that
And
way.
they stopped using it because that road wasn't that years ago when that close to her house. If I'm not mistaken, because we used to come all the way through that road to come all the way out to the Peacock's property. Even his cows even came out to that point. So I guess the question is now, we closed it.
It's closed.
It's closed. So there's no.
It's deeded. I mean, we've deeded the property to the Palmers.
I think what we found out, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Mary, but you deeded it, now the McMillans have it, McMillans. But the other option is that we as a commission, and I don't know if you can get to the Alachua County Properties Appraiser and put that screen up, but we have to agree that they could have access to that portion of the road off of 2nd Street, and that we would not have a problem trying to do that. Go to owner's name. Go to owner's name. Yeah, but we can't see it up there.
So while you're doing that, City Attorney, let me ask you a question. I want to phrase this question. To create a city road, what's the process of creating a city road?
Well, one of the ways to do it is platting the road right of way, and then we accept the plat, then it's recorded in the public records, and then it's a dedicated road right of way. And what we've been talking about here this evening is if it's a dedicated road right of way, until you give it up and close the road and deed it to somebody else, it's a city road, whether it's never been used or was used 100 years ago, and then now it's fallen into disrepair and there's weeds and trees that have grown up. It's still a city road right of way.
Okay, but now we done deeded it to, we all said Mike Mills, whoever you're saying now. So that road is closed.
That's right.
But so my question is, say once the railroad stop doing what they doing, they give up the railroad tracks. Any way possible that we can 12th Street. Ma'am, let me finish speaking, please. Thank you. So, how can you attain land to make a road? That's the question I'm trying to ask.
Well, the ways to do that, there's several ways. One is to obtain it from a property owner. You can buy it from them, or if they're developing their property, they can plat it, or you can obtain it by eminent domain. So there's ways to do that, but the eminent domain process is generally disfavored because it's a very expensive proposition. You have to go through a number of procedures in order to get that done.
Because I'm thinking most of that probably back that would lead to make that a 12 probably belongs to CSS. Find 12.
This is CSX. This is CSX in here. This is state of Florida. Right here, it's called the Murphy Act. Murphy Law. So that's another thing I'll bring up. If there's somebody thinking they want to buy some land, this is under what's called the Murphy Law. And that's here. This is CSX up here. But what I was trying to point out is, this is the road we closed, right here. They can access it here and here. So I think what the Peacocks may like but I'd let them speak for themselves. Yeah, we agree that they could put a fence here and have access to Second and go out 13th one day if they ever needed it. But that we should never, ever close that road again to lock them out. But they do have access off 2nd to 13th. But don't mess with it no more.
So then all we closed was the part where the Palmers, whoever y'all saying own it now,
Yeah, McMillan.
McMillan's.
The grayed out, right?
We closed that little section right there.
Okay. I remember you showing me that there was some other roads back there where you had the fence up. Talking about Nikki now. Come to the gate there, that other gate you got down there. So that's a possible to
Yes, sir.
Yeah, of course.
do that?
Yes, sir.
So what would that street?
Right away.
Come on, Nikki.
Thank you.
Bring the microphone around, sir.
Pretty much covered it. Just that we weren't put on the application to abandon the right-of-way. They also asked for all the parcel numbers. And our parcel number was not put on there. And we were not contacted by anybody about this. It clearly showed that it came to our property and all this happened and we never knew anything about it. And I found out from the surveyor after it was all said and done. And we are good with second. All we're asking is help to get into our property so we can get out to 27. And that is fine. I'm not, that would be fine. We just need the city to help us get a way out, that like we had. We had that strip out and it's gone. We need a strip, a road back out.
But
Street.
Commissioner Barnes.
I think we've got survey stakes on 13th Street. Or Brinkman could, the guy that did the surveys, he could tell where 13th. We never surveyed where Second would be, or where it would come up with to your property. So what my idea would be is we determine on your property where Second hooks up to your property, and we say this is your access point to 2nd Avenue. And that at some point, if you ever decide to start using that, then we have to talk about budget and
Well, I
road.
think I need to start using it. I didn't think you always had to use a road, but apparently since I hadn't, that one got closed on me. I never thought in my lifetime that road would get closed. And I'm gonna have to start using a road, looks like, or at least keeping it cleared for people not to close us out. Because it looks like people are trying to buy in, and people can buy land, that's their privilege, I understand. You shouldn't block someone else out by doing it. And we need to keep these streets in. That is the only street from right here to the movie house first to the Santa Fe River. 13th Street is the only street that crosses those tracks. There was a reason that road was put there for the landowners this side of the railroad track to get to their property. And that's the only street that was put there. And I just don't understand how it got closed. We're good with Second. We will work, y'all can take care of Second and get it open for us, and clear it enough where we can drive it, so we know where it is, and get to our property. But we need help. That's why I'm here tonight. We need your help, please.
I don't know that the city has budgeted money in this fiscal year to start clearing it.
No.
Or looking at that, Nikki, but what I will say to you is that as you need to get with, what I think I would really like to see to start this process, and I don't know if you need a motion or you can just say you'll do it, is determine the spot where he can put a gate one day onto that Second. Just determine where that spot is, and then over the coming months, years, the city, you stay on the city, that that's a road and you want to use it, and this, you'll have to stay here and if
Can I
there's,
get that in some kind of writing? I mean, where I don't have to go over this with another commission that comes up, we change commissions, people leave, and then it's like, well, we don't know anything about it. We run into that. I've seen this all my life here, and it just happens, that's life. People move on. But I need some kind of insurance that road is available to us, surveyed off, so we know where it is, and I'd like to have it cleared enough we could drive on, if possible. I just need help. I need your help. Whatever solution y'all can come up to help us.
I'll do this, Mr. Peacock. I'll make a motion to have the city determine the access point on your property where Second meets your property. Does that make sense? That the city determine the access point, I'll make a motion that the city determine the access point where Second Avenue meets your property. Those 2 points. Well, I think the surveyor may have done that already, but.
We know where this is, so we'll know where to clear to go out, so we can get to 27. Looks like we might start using these roads all the time, or this is gonna happen.
Well, I'll withdraw that motion and make another motion. I'll make a motion that the city determine the access point to your property off of Second Avenue and the intersection of 13th Street and Second Avenue.
I'll second it for discussion. I'd like to, this commission, we created this problem. We made a decision, which happens very often based on the information that's collected by staff. The fact that he wasn't contacted, I know in the past meeting, we had a discussion where we're not going to make it right for the Peacock family. We can't or whatever. We created this. It shouldn't be left to another commission to fix. Making another resolution, a process to follow, and sometimes it doesn't get followed, has created this situation for this family. We need to make it right now. In the budget, not in the budget. We created this by wrong information, taking a vote, closing a road, and it got sold. We need to also be thinking about why we're closing roads. And it wasn't just one in the past couple of years. There have been several road closings. We need to correct it. Too often a decision's made, but nothing's done. I don't want this to happen. It needs to be fixed. It should never have happened in the first place. What was it said? It's not required by law to contact everybody. You don't just do it whether it's required by law. It's the right thing to do. How do we fix this so that he doesn't have to wait 2 or 3 commissions down the road? What assurance do we have as a commission it can be made right?
But you're going to make a resolution.
Okay.
And that will carry on. We will keep in mind 13th wasn't open. It was just a wooded area. So we are going to identify where Second Avenue is and where 3rd and 13th and 2nd are, and we will stake out those points. But I'm also in agreement that Mr. DePeters has come up here a number of times, and I agree with him. We should not be giving away city property.
Thank you.
And I agree. And, I'm sorry, but we have a lot of streets even on this agenda. People are starting to get the idea that they can get property by asking for roads to be closed. So, I agree with Mr. DePeters on this point. We should not be giving away city property.
Okay.
But that's strictly a commission issue.
It is.
Only the commission can do that.
But decisions are made here as a commission based on the information you as a city manager are to gather the information, and I believe it was in September of last year, you said it doesn't affect anybody else. Now, I didn't vote for the closing of the road, but this isn't just, this is why it's so important to make sure we didn't follow procedure last time, this time, or next time, or, I've watched us make procedures and they're not followed. What can we do about it? Nothing, but, what can we do about this situation to make it right for this family?
Well,
It
I
should
think
never
you
have
are.
happened.
But the attorneys went right along with the ordinance and the law about who to notify, which is,
I think we've now changed that. Didn't we do a resolution just recently? to change it?
We have now. We've added a provision that, and probably as a result of this situation, is my guess of it, that whenever we're closing a road right away, a yellow sign be placed at both the entrance and terminus of the proposed road to be closed, so people can see that something's happening, like you do on a notice of zoning change. Signs posted before the actual ordinance is read that this is the process that's being undertaken, so that people can know there is something going on with that property.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
is there any type paperwork we can put in, or however we have to do it, to put in the budget next year, hope to clear this road? Can that be done to help solve our problem? Go ahead and mark it, put it in the budget for next year, for this to be, so we can come in and out of there and know we're actually on city property. It's, city road. Is there any way that can be done, or just ask?
Be something done in the next budget process.
right, we'll take an estimation of what it will cost. We have to do a cost-benefit analysis when we do anything that has to do with opening up the streets. And we'll certainly present it to the commission as one of those either funded or unfunded requirements.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, what's about to say?
Speaking of giving away the roads, this is basically the same part of it, but I don't know if it's legal, but I think we need to start, if someone wants to close a road, they need to pay market value for that road, whatever it is. I mean, if that's possible, it might not be legal.
Can't do that.
It really, we're giving away land, and like you said, we shouldn't be. These streets are here for a reason. They were put there years ago for a reason. And we need to leave them open unless there's just some kind of very, very special need to it. But any help the commission and city can do for me, I really need the help. I need to be able to access our property to 27.
I think we found a solution. So, did you just say a few minutes ago that second been marked off already?
No, sir.
Parts of 13th have been, parts of 13th
No,
have,
just one part. This lady's house right here, I've never met her, but there's a stake right by her trash can, and then there's a fence that the railroad put in years ago to stop people from driving on their property over there. That's 60 foot from her stake to that fence is 60 foot.
Okay.
But it needs to be located all the way from the tracks to Second to us, so everybody knows exactly where it is. Is what I think. Now, Mr.
Brinkman did the
he
survey.
did the survey of the property up by the railroad track someone bought. And he's done some surveys, so he's familiar with that property that might save the city, us citizens and the city money to get that done.
So, the reason I asked that question is, I guess, the city manager. So what's the process of get that staked off to say what the road is?
Get it, and Brakeman may be the person, if he's a surveyor, to go
He's a
do it.
surveyor. I was talking to him yesterday about Ashton Ridge.
Right.
And I answered the phone, thought it was somebody else, and he started talking to me, and he said, whatever happened to the guy that I saw on the other side of that fence? Because they talked to each other, I guess, one day.
Okay.
That's how
And
I
I
found out.
said, I don't want to talk about it, Jimmy, it's a mess.
We'll call him and have him do the survey.
Okay.
So we'll stake it off 13th down to Second to us.
Can I speak on this issue? Because I've seen the survey stakes.
Yeah, we're aware of that. So, okay, so we're pretty much clear that we're gonna get Mr.
Brakeman.
the survey and then stake it off up there, put his sticks out, and then some kind of way, can we put some You know them sticks always disappear.
We'll figure out, maybe we'll put rebarb down.
Okay.
Just when you decide to do it, just have him there with you. Try and coordinate it with the owner.
We will.
And
What
that-
kind of timeline, Mr. Booth, would we be looking at on this?
Next 3 weeks.
All right, sir. And then again, I need to come back about the budget for clearing. How we gonna work that? How do I do that?
Lobby your
I would
commissioners.
state my case when we do the budget, it's an open hearing to the public. Make your case.
Yeah, they should
That
not.
has-
And that'll
has
be
all
on
the
minutes
rest of it
tonight
to it.
from this meeting that we discussed it, right? The minutes will show we discussed this tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Smile.
You on candy camera?
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Thank you for
Well,
coming.
I appreciate y'all's help on everything.
All right. You're welcome. Okay.
I did not know this was on the agenda today. I wasn't here for that. Again, Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Teresa Martin, and I'm the resident on Southwest 13th Street. And if you don't mind, I'll go over here to the map, because thank you for putting this map up. So my house resides on the -3 part of the parcel, and there was a man with dump trucks that owned the adjoining parcel around my house. He no longer owns that property. He was dumping for years and years, and I begged the city and the county to stop this man from dumping. Now, this is a city street and the only one that crosses the railroad tracks and provides access to the railroad to maintain the tracks that come around the County Road 340, Bow Springs Road. Now, I came up here and spoke, being the only resident, not knowing when you were closing off the road, and you can refer to the notes, and I said, but do the peacocks know? Hope to meet you again some other time. I said, but are they aware that you're closing the road that enters into their field? And I brought this up, and I asked for a postponement so that I could come and talk to you at the next meeting, and I wanted to find out if they were aware that the Palmers were trying to close this off. And I was also aware, because I looked it up, that they had purchased this parcel and this parcel from the state of Florida, and they asked to close off this road, and Commissioner Barnes said, well, I've been out there. And I was a little surprised, but, you know, it's a public road, and it is all platted and designed. You see all these roads, and I heard that it was a sprawling complex once upon a time with the railroad. So the previous owner of the parcel next to me paved that road prior to my purchasing it. He paved this road. It's not a straight road. This is also a public road. It enters into the Palmers property. The Palmers kept coming around and coming around. They were the only other people that used the older Palmers. I've met them a few times. I paid Chris Ann Gaff to survey my property because they kept coming so close to my house. So my property line ends about 10 feet out in the middle of what is Southwest 13th Street. So I had it surveyed so that they would officially know where my property markers. And then I ran into Mr. Brinkman most recently surveying around for the new property owners, which, to my understanding, the Palmers split the property in half, and their son was the one, because he wrote me a letter about the house, owned these properties, the younger Palmer and the older Palmer daughter and her husband owned the other half of the property. He may have been the gentleman in the truck the other day threatening me on my public road going in and out of my residence. And I am the only one that comes in and out of the residence. The Palmers stopped entering this way after I had the survey done, and I kind of showed them, you're coming too close to my house. I mean, literally a few feet from my bedroom, coming in and out every day, because they both worked and everything. And so they stopped coming in this way, and they drive all the way around, and they enter their property off of County Road 340. So I never see the peacocks, because again, they enter in off of County Road 340, and they have several cows. I'm not sure what they have. A lot. They have cows, and so I walk around in these woods and or the woods. So it is true, there's those, I'm sorry, what did you call them, Mr. Walker, the kind of farm roads coming, because of there are these old little dirt roads that go this way. They're not exactly, and there is a road that was some kind of a railroad road. It has the CSX, no trespassing sign. It's about right across from my house in the woods, and it comes down a diagonal. I don't know what that road is. But I asked you at this time, were the Peacocks aware that you were closing the road off? Mr. Barnes, you told me you came out there and looked in that area, and I said, I don't think you should do that. When I came, and now I'm done looking at the map, when I came and what I wanted to accomplish when you were offering to close off the road for the Palmers was, because I have so much problem with the traffic coming on around, cutting through over to County Road 340, and CSX not wanting any accountability for the dumping or the traffic that goes on out there, was if you're going to close the road up, please forgive me, Mr. and Mrs. Peacock, but please, can we just close it all the way up to in front of my house? Because I'm getting tired of people showing up at my house going, is this the way to Jenny Springs or something like that? And I even tell my friends, if you're coming to my house, please just call me first, because it's getting a little scary. I was especially fearful last year when there were multiple armed robberies in the community. Again, I'm asking.
Okay. Time's up.
The last thing, how can I get some road closure there to feel comfortable and safe and my property? Please, if any assistance that you have for me, and I'm going to assist Mr. Peacock as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
What happened?
I think we
Where we at?
understand that I'm going to survey out there 13th and 2nd. We'll have the police department.
I think we had a motion. We had a motion.
Motion and a second.
Yeah, we had a motion and a second.
Right.
So we need to make the motion on the second about, I think first about putting the stakes for second
Well,
and 13th.
I think my motion was to identify where
Yeah.
2nd and 13th, where the gate was and where the intersection was of 2nd and 13th.
Yes.
And that should be the start that we should be able to do for now. And it was seconded, so.
All right.
Identifying that gate and identifying the
13.
intersection was part of the motion, so.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You understand what we're saying, Mr. Booth?
What I was going to do, you want to identify 13th to the railroad tracks.
What? Right. So, well, passes her house, which you say it's not on her property road at this time. I guess the surveyors.
My house is not in the.
Okay.
We know that.
I'll amend the
Right, but
motion.
we closed the road. You
But,
want me to do it?
no, we
the
closed,
road?
we closed the part, well, we gotta put the map back up again.
No, you're just gonna identify, let me amend the motion, or amend the motion to say, the motion was to identify the intersection of Second Avenue and 13th Street.
Right.
And the access point off of 2nd Avenue to them.
Got that.
I'll amend the motion to say, and to survey from the railroad tracks to the intersection of 2nd Avenue,
And 13th.
13th Street, left and right side.
Okay.
I'll amend it.
Now, is it woods?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is woods there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Which I have been in.
All right.
It's heavily wooded.
So.
But we did drive a
put,
truck in
like,
there.
Every 100 feet or so, we put a stake, is that?
Every
Yeah,
50 feet.
just identify what the road is now.
Got it.
Actually, we're 13.
I'll go with Brinkman.
Second.
Oh, right. You know Brinkman?
Yeah.
If you call me and we'll go, I'll get my boots on too.
We'll go.
Take Nikki with you.
Yes, I'll take care, I'll promise to coordinate with everybody when Brinkman goes out there, even you.
Right. Friday would be great because
As long as you don't shoot me.
Right. All right.
Give Mr. Booth his bulldozer and you'll have a road right
I
quick
will-
through there.
You give me my book, yes, right.
There we go. Let's go and prove a bulldozer for tonight.
Bulldozer, and I'll make roads for you.
Okay, we got a motion.
Motion is second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, come in saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay,
Well, you have a tank.
moving on, item number 2, consider resolution 2014P.
What about number 1?
Well,
We moved that to 4.
we moved.
Yeah, we switched them around.
Oh,
We can do it that way, it doesn't matter. However you
yeah,
wanna do
that's
it.
right.
We reversed it.
We reversed it, so that's why I was going.
Okay, my mistake.
That's okay. Okay, Mr. City Attorney?
Are we on the contract with Emerald Data? Mr.
No, we're
Mayor?
gonna,
Which one are we at?
Do we need a
resolution
break?
2014?
10-P.
2014P. Okay, Mr. Mayor. It's Resolution 2014P, Resolution of the City Commission of the City of High Springs, establishing a fee for grinder pump repairs for sewer customers, providing for conflict and severability, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2014P upon its reading by title only.
I'll make a motion to pass Resolution 2014P, and this, with the stipulation, understand that's all of sewer, not grinder, that's all sewer people.
It is all sewer people, and it all goes into reserve.
Right, okay. Then I'll make that motion to pass it.
I gotta find that resolution. You,
It's a $2 fee each month.
This is a $2 fee a month, folks, to pay for the grinder pumps and sewer repairs as we go forward to get some money put aside so we're not getting hammered. So it's a proactive type of deal. Don't wait till the problem happens, get ahead of the game.
There you go.
I'm not seconding.
So I made a motion, we're not gonna second it.
The city shall collect a $2 fee each month from sewer customers to allow the city to make necessary repairs to grinder pumps. All sewer customers, even if they don't have a grinder pump.
This is a citywide project. Don't do the fee. Let the thing go down, and then we're going into the general fund, and we're taking money out of there to have to repair it. This is a city project. What we're trying to do is get ahead of the game. Don't do it, that's fine. But when a catastrophe hits and they go out, you're going to be going into the general fund, you're going to be going into reserve, and and then everybody in the city is going to pay. Maybe that's the way it ought to be. And let everybody pay. Either we go and we establish something ahead of time to get ahead of the game, because they're going to break, folks, and they're breaking. And either we're going to get ahead of the game, or we're going to sit here and wait until it happens, and then we're going to come in, and we're going to have to go into the general fund, we're going to have to go into contingency to fix it. So we can be proactive or not. It's that simple.
Mr. Bonus?
You know, had we, for almost 3 years, I've been talking about trying to adjust the sewer rates to separate them from your water. The more water you use, the higher your sewer rate goes. I have been up here for 3 years asking people and staff, asking city managers, and saying, we need to come up with a way to separate the sewer and the water to make it fair. I just had a call from a guy who doesn't know why his water use spiked, but he got hit with a monster water sewer bill. The other problem I have is, if you're a water user in High Springs, about 30% of your bill right now, your water bill, goes to pay for the sewer. Part of your trash collection bill goes to pay for the sewer. There should be a way that I believe the city over the years can figure out how to use that extra money you're taking from water, you're taking for trash, to repair these grinder pumps. This is just, to me, it's a backdoor way of finding another revenue source. So I can't support it.
Okay, we had a motion on the floor. Motion fails for lack of a second. Okay. Moving on to.
Well, hold on a second. Let's make darn sure, and I want to understand this, when these babies start dying out and we got to go find the money, let's make sure we understand where everybody voted in the deal on this one here. When we start going into the general fund and these babies die out and they've been going and we had a presentation, I just want to make sure everybody, I understand not wanting to add a tax on. I get it. Don't have to like it, folks. I'm on the sewer. I don't like it. But I also understand if we don't do something proactive, we're going to get stuck with the major bill and then we're going to be coming to the general fund. So either we can act proactively or not. So I'm done. Thank you.
Can you clarify what it is? Is he talking about the grinder part? What's the part?
Sewers. Yeah, grinder pump, sewers. Yes.
I don't have, so I'm just.
Well, of course. See, then that's the whole point.
I just wanted you to clarify what it was you were speaking about.
Here's the point, though. When the grinders go out, the money that you pay in, you're going to help pay for it.
I understand.
I thank you.
Okay, this.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
It's okay. Okay, so we're moving on to item number 3, consider defining utility bills, due dates, and holidays and weekends. Finance Director, you want to?
Timeline of just how the utility bills are done. The question came up of when the bills are due. So if the bills fall on a weekend or on a holiday, they are due. Come in at 7:30 in the morning, and everybody that is paid up to that point gets credit for it. For ordinance, it's the 21st of the month. Right now, prior commission, the due dates have been changed. So right now, a meter gets read anywhere from the 10th to the 15th. Bills don't go out till the end of the month, and then they're not due till the 21st of the next month. So by the time a bill is due, you already owe another bill. So by the time you get to the cutoff, you owe 2 months. So what has happened is by the time people get on the cutoff list or they don't pay their bill, their deposit doesn't cover their bills. And they leave the city owing money. Right now, we have over $100,000 of people that have final billed and their deposit didn't cover it, and we have no means to collect. Now, the process, since I've been here, we are changing that process so that we can now collect with new people coming in and with repeat offenders. We are asking them to fill out new applications with more things to identify them. But the longer we put out the bill to be due, the more that we get behind as a city. And I don't know about y'all, but I certainly would like that $100,000. So the deal, you want to know when the due date is? 21st of the month. If it falls on a weekend, it's first business day at 7:30 in the morning. After that, fees are charged.
So now you're asking what you.
I put this on the agenda.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's not about $100,000 that the city has failed to collect over the last 33 years or so. It's not about that. It's about, and let me also say this, I've sent to her office 4 cities that charge what their policy is, 4 cities that I just found in a half an hour about 2-3 weeks ago. If your bill is due on coming December, your bill is due on the 21st, it's a weekend. I traditionally had drove over on a Sunday night and put the money in the box. And I did that on the 21st. Somebody said to me, you don't have to do that because they got Monday, because the 21st falls on a Sunday. You got Monday to pay it, all day Monday till 4 o'clock. I said, oh, okay. So I drove over at 10 o'clock in the morning, put my bill in the mail, and the next day, I got my notice so that I was late. And I'll pay my $10 fee. But I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's right that if a holiday or a bill falls on the 21st, you should have the full next day to pay it. The full next day to pay it. The interesting thing is sometimes we're closed on a Monday. So that might be the other interesting thing you can't get here. So somebody comes at 7:30 in the morning. We don't open till 8. But
We open 7:30.
7:30, you got to have that thing in the box, or you're late. So why not shouldn't it be in there at midnight on the 21st? Well, we've adjusted that to give them time to get in. Why shouldn't somebody drive out here at midnight on the 21st and collect all those things? I think it's wrong. I think we should have, as other cities do, to say when the bill falls on, the due date falls on a Sunday, you have till close of business the next business day, and if we're closed on a Monday, it's Tuesday. But till close of business on the following business day to pay the bill. If this commission doesn't think it's fair, if they think 7:30 is okay, fine. But I think the public, at least, now, does it say that on the website?
It says it on your bill.
Does it say it on the website? No. It doesn't say on the website at all. It says on your bill, your bill is due on the 21st. I'm not going to disagree with that. But it doesn't say what happens if it's a holiday. And I'll find one to read for you here if there's another commissioner who wants to make a comment. But other cities on their website, 4 websites I found, say if the bill falls on a weekend or a holiday, you have till the next business day at close of business to pay your bill.
Commissioner Barnes, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm following what the ordinance says, and the ordinance doesn't say if it falls on a weekend. That is your group option to change that, but according to ordinance, it says it's due on the 21st.
No doubt.
And the ones you had sent to me specifically lay out if it's on a weekend or on a holiday, then it's the next business day. I totally agree with that, but that's not what ours says.
I'll make a motion, we change our ordinance to reflect paying the bill 1 business day after the due date if it falls on a weekend or a holiday.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
As tradition, I mean, I'm hearing it, you have to have it in by the next day at 7:30. That is news to me. Looking at most governments, even the IRS, you have the next full day. Like if the 15th falls on a Sunday, you've got the Monday to send in your IRS bill. And also checking with the county, I think they have the same kind of procedure as well, that you have the full day the next day off after the holiday. And it would be helpful if whatever's required in the resolution, the 21st, but that it be spelled out for the homeowner or business person, what happens when we are closed. If it's 7:30 or you have the full day. It's surprising to me. Is that a possibility that it could be made very clear on the website?
Oh yes, we're.
Post it on the website. That's not.
We're about to upgrade and
Well,
provide
that's
more
my-
information, but
It may not be the issue, but it's my question concerning how this is handled. That's, just for clarification for the homeowner and for the business person.
Sure.
Having something due at 7:30 the next day, I mean, I've never heard that, but that, we've got to make it clear to the community what's required.
requirement to make as far as us to put it on the website, we will do that. To change the ordinance to go to the next day, we need an ordinance change.
When someone signs up for service, what kind of handout are they given as to what's expected of, is there something given to them, like with grinder pumps, with water,
They are
payment of
given
bills?
they are given something. We are working on updating that as well.
Okay. That'd be good. Along with the garbage and the trash.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Jameson?
I don't think we ought to vote on something, on an ordinance tonight with the commissioner gone, but if we're going to do it, I'd also like to put in a deal for discussion, is to back it up to the 15th. You get it, to put it out by the 21st, you start getting into turn-offs and turn-ons, and all of a sudden now you got a real issue with the scope of the work. So, I mean, I don't know why you have 3 weeks to pay a bill. I get my bill about the 3rd or 4th of the 5th, the latest. I don't know why we're putting it off to the 21st. Let's move it up to the 15th, give the guys a chance to read it, then give a guy to do the other work. Right now, they're intermingling, which causes a manpower issue. So if we're going to do an ordinance, I would suggest that we also, this is what I'm saying, let's think on the deal here. I would also suggest that it would be, the due date be changed to the 15th. And then if you want to have the 15th go the next day, I've got no problem. But I don't think we need to do it rash. I would like to see it on the 15th, but I think the other commissioner ought to be here, so you ought to have 5 people vote on it.
Mr. Bond?
I'd be acceptable to you having any ordinance that set any date in the month, as long as if the due date falls on a weekend or a holiday. If the 20th falls on a weekend, then payment is due the next business day by 5 p.m. That's Oregon City Finance Department. Put that nice disclaimer on Oregon City website. So how you do that, I don't care. If this motion doesn't pass and you want to make another motion or make a motion or make a suggestion to put it on the next agenda to discuss changing the billing date, as long as it has the,
I have no issue with your suggestion, Bob. I'm just saying, if we're going to do it, let's wrap, if we think about changing it, let's wrap it into one ordinance, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm suggesting.
I would also suggest approve this motion, and I'll make another motion to put it on the next agenda to work on the ordinance to change the billing date.
But I want to see it all at once. I won't vote for to do one. I'd like to see, if we're going to do one, I'd like to see the date go back to the 15th. Let's do it all in one ordinance.
And then I'll make a motion to amend my motion. I'll make an amendment to my motion to change the billing date to the 15th.
That's the due date.
The due date to the 15th. The due date to the 15th. That's an amendment to the motion to make the bill due on the following business day of the due date, if it falls on a Saturday or Sunday or holiday. Does that make sense?
I'll second
Scott?
that.
Okay. So
you all understand?
We got a motion on the floor to change the due date to the 15th. And if the 15th fall on a holiday, you got to that next Monday
Or
to
a
close
Saturday.
of business.
Or a Saturday or Sunday.
Saturday or Sunday. You got to the next business day, 5:30?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. To pay your bill.
Yep.
All right. Got a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
Just talk, sit down there.
How long
long has it been since you all changed that date from, and now you're changing it again? You know that is a lot of confusion, especially to old people like me. You keep changing that date from your payoff date from the 15th to the 21st. Now you change it from the 21st to the 15th. I just wanted to throw that in.
I wasn't in favor of changing it from the beginning because we changed it for I ain't gonna get into that. But it was a bad decision when we made it.
It looks like every 2 years, whether we need it or not, it gets changed.
It was changed, because last time it was changed, I wasn't in agreement with it because we was trying to please certain individuals, and I thought that was very, very wrong. I thought that was so wrong, but it was what it was. So we got a motion on the floor.
It's been seconded.
In a second. Okay, all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mr. Attorney, you got that one?
Can I ask a question, Mr. Mayor, just on this? Scott, can I ask a question? What is the time frame to have that? So in essence, like when would you anticipate that it would be implemented and then the change would be active?
November or early December, we'll have it done.
Okay.
Right.
We can certainly do that. That's doable.
And you can advertise it, like you said on the deal, and that's it. Good. Thank you.
And advertise both, the fact that if it falls on a holiday, they know they have the next day. Yeah, be great. That would be real helpful.
All right, moving back to consider approval of contract with Emerald Data Partners. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, you have the contract before you, and the appropriate motion would be to enter into the contract between the City of High Springs and Emerald Data Partners. Their formal name is LG May LLC.
Yes.
Section 5, the third line should say thereafter instead of therefore. Section 4, third paragraph, there's a typo that says contract, it should say contractor. Section 13 right now is discussing assignments, and it doesn't also explicitly say that the contractor will also have to approve any assignment. In section 21, which is the section on sovereign immunity, what's in there now shows 100,000, 200,000, but the board statute actually now reads 200,000, 300,000.
We heard the corrections. Commissioner, what's your pleasure?
Courtney, is Mr. May, is he aware of these changes and the dollar amount on the insurance provider? Is he aware of that?
Yes, and his attorney has also reviewed the contract.
Okay. So can we make a motion to approve it with the corrections as read?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract with Emerald Data Partners for IT services with the corrections as read into the contract. Thank you.
Motion on the floor at the second.
No, we only had one company due for the RFP or whatever. Only one company came in. They came in under what we did. This has been something that's been advocated by the board and Mr. Barnes particularly for a year and a half to get this on. Now we have it, and we're not going to vote for it. And nobody else applied for it. Nobody else put in a bid for it. So the things that we've had out there for a year and a half, we have it now, and now we're not going to vote on it, I'm assuming because of a personality conflict.
Barnes?
I objected to this contract when it came in, that it wasn't put out properly to bid. That's all I've ever objected to it about. And I objected to it that I felt it was a conflict of an interest. That's all.
The purpose of this was for the IT person, so we've been wanting for the longest. IT person.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I'd like to
Commissioner.
support this bid camp because of the bidding process. I think there are more than just one company out there. And the fact that this company was allowed to have access to police department computers without being CJIS compliant, only complied after the fact. I mean, it's not personality. It's, again, following procedures. And I'm not convinced that we have. And I feel like that's a lot of liability. And also, without competition in the bidding process, I think the prices have been high. And so, I mean, to say it's personality, it's not. There have been some areas that need to be corrected, and I think it needs to be put out to bid again.
Commissioner Barnes?
Let's also mention that when this went out for bid, this went out for bid on our terms. What we got back was a contract on the bidder's terms. And so the commission the votes that approved it were to say, okay, we're not going to work with the bid request we put out. What we're going to do is take a contract from you, and we're going to take a contract at $100 an hour, and we're going to take a contract that said, I believe, minimum $2,500 a month.
Yes, I believe that was the amount.
The minimum. If you didn't do $2,500 worth of work in a month, that's what the fee would be. Is that right? I think when it got to the point where we were getting a contract back and we were no longer dictating what we were saying was in the bid, then the people that saw the bid, the first people that saw the bid, didn't understand that they could put their own contract in. I don't think it said that in the bid. So it should go out again. And if you want to say, bring us your own contract for what you want to do and how you want to build a city, we'll accept that. And I bet you get a few more people bidding on it that way. So anyway, that's how I feel about it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Well, the motion died for lack of a second, so.
Mr. Mayor, next item on the agenda is ordinance 2014-05, an ordinance of the Commissioners of the City of High Springs, Florida, amending section 66-2 street closings of the High Springs Code of Ordinances, providing for a public notice via signage to be placed on the street, providing for codification, repealing any inconsistent provisions, providing for severability, and also providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance 2014-05 upon its second reading by title only.
Okay, you heard the reading of the minutes. Any discussion or consideration of the passage?
That's the one where we talk about the signs and everything.
Yes.
That's the ones where we talk about next time we do a street closing, which we'll probably never do again, is we put the signs out and notifying everybody that borders the property. I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2014-05 on first reading.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions?
Mr. Mayor, one of my concerns with the way this is worded, and we tend to, when there's a mistake made, try and either make another ordinance or resolution, it still doesn't provide for us contacting all the properties involved, which was what the failure was in our passing the closing of 13th Street or Avenue. People were not properly contacted, and how do you know they're going to see the sign or not? You know what I'm saying? In this particular case, even if you had posted it back there, because the 13th Avenue was not traveled as much by the Peacock family, they still wouldn't have known. And actually, just picking up the phone or checking with them would have resolved the problem before it started. So this actually, to me, doesn't correct the problem. It's an attempt, and I'm grateful for that, but I just don't want to see this happen again.
Another discussion? Anyone from the audience? Yes, sir. Did you come on to the mic, please? Just give your name for the record. Turn your mic on that for us. No.
No.
There you go.
What if the people live out of town? We've got signs on this end of that street, and they own the property, but they live out of town, and they don't see it. And we run into this problem. They're not even aware because they don't live here. I mean, it is an issue. I mean, we need to come up with some way. I think the people closing the road should pay for the letters to be sent out, and I think they should be registered. Personally, I don't know how that works, and whoever's wanting the road closed should pay for all this, not the city. These people should pay. Whoever's wanting these roads closed, they should pay for what it takes to do that. They're winding up with the land. They should pay everything that's done. And I honestly think somebody should look at a map like we did tonight, should be in charge of that. And every parcel, like they do in zoning, they get a letter, a registered letter. And then they're aware of it, and that protects after everybody was notified. And then you don't have a problem later on about someone comes in and wasn't notified.
Right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, another discussion? Mr. Bonds?
I talked with Jenny about a week ago when this came up on the Peacock property. She read me the code book in the Muni codes. She read to me somewhere in there. I don't know if we have find it, but I can find it from Jenny. She read to me where it does say we're supposed to be sending letters out. Now on this form, it doesn't say that, and it didn't refer to that code number. And so that's another change that has to be made with our complaints. It has to refer to that code number. But I believe it says that in that code. If you're abandoning one, or if you're going to just close one, everybody's supposed to get notified by a letter. I believe it's in there, and if it's not, and I'll follow up on that with Jenny when she's back, we can amend it and keep getting it right. But this is a good step forward to at least make sure we're on this. And your property was the start of all this, to try and get it right. And I think we've learned a lesson tonight, but I support it.
Okay, any other discussion, any questions? Okay, and then all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
The motion carries 3-1. Okay, item number 6. Consider ordinance 20-14-06.
Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance of the City of High Springs, Florida, closing as a public road right-of-way, vacating and abandoning portions of certain platted roads in Riverview subdivision within the city limits of High Springs, Florida, providing for conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance 2014-06.
Heard the reading of the ordinance. Any discussion?
Could you give me an overview, Scott, of what this one is?
This is in Camp Calaqua.
It is.
And it's property that's platted road right-of-way within their plats.
So within their own land, they're doing something within their own land, not outside.
That's correct.
Right, we did that before. Well, I don't know, you weren't here, we did that before, once before.
One of the main, one of them is the main road going in. They want to take it over totally and it to be theirs.
Main road,
Part of
I
that
believe,
main road.
was already vacated
That's
by
right,
the
you
city
vacated
to them.
part of it. Now they want to vacate the rest of it.
We did that about a year ago, didn't we?
Yeah, it may have been a little longer, but yeah, we did it. We had maps up and everything. I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2014-06.
I'll second for discussion and let the gentleman.
Hi, my name's Phil Yantz. I'm the director of Camp Kalakwa. The road that we're talking about, I just wanted to reassure you that the camp does own all the property around that road. We've had two good neighbors since the 70s. It's been there, and it's amazing. And within a month of each other, they both wanted to sell their 5-acre tracts of property. And so we purchased those 2 tracts of property. And so we're the only ones that own the property around that road. So there is no other property owners that come in contact with that road. Just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Thank you.
These are actually, it's several roads. It's not just that main one. There's several other platted roads within the camp.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, my name's Mike Kearney. I just a point of interest here, and it hasn't, the question hasn't been asked here. The plan board already reviewed this thing in detail, and we recommended that, plan board recommended that it be approved. And I just, it's just something to think about here in the future. If the plan board approves something, then the commission should take that under heavy recommendation. If it isn't going to, we don't need a plan board.
Hey, Mike.
That's the point.
Thank you, sir.
It
We take
was-
that
hey,
advice
Mike.
in consideration, very much so.
Plan board, is there a note in the things what the plan board said?
I believe there is. There should have been, but
No, it's not in here.
It was the last plan board
Yes.
meeting that they reviewed it and made the recommendation.
they did, and they approved it.
But it's not in the packet.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I didn't see it in the packet.
Then that is staff's fault, and I'll take that responsibility. Didn't put it in there. I recommended that it go to the planning board, even though it doesn't call for it in the ordinance, just so we get another set of eyes to take a look at it. Maybe we won't have the problem with peacocks and that. So that's what we're doing also, to make sure that these road closures have plenty of eyes to them.
And somehow, the plan board makes recommendations, we make sure that
It gets back to you.
it
yes.
gets into their, a staff report, so.
I guess.
At the moment, the city manager just said, he came to the plan board with a recommendation of this thing we just previously discussed. And the plan board, again, discussed it in detail. And I think it's really important. I don't know how it gets messed out in the loop, that you all didn't hear what the plan board had to say.
Well, I apologize. I was on vacation last week and somehow it fell through the cracks, but it won't next time. I don't take that many vacations either.
But we did approve.
You did.
No, you did.
I know.
I believe you.
Thank you, Mike.
Job well done. Okay. I think we got a motion in a second, doesn't we?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion, any questions? All in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay, move on to 7. Discuss and consider proposal for using line next step for community notification.
Yes, sir. We actually, the police chief and staff looked at several different systems, because we brought back them from the conference, and they wound up being basically Facebook in that. He can better explain Nixle, because he's done most of the research, and this seems to be the system that can notify the community best, and we can have more input, and it's all yours.
All right, Fire Chief Bruce Gillingham. There was, when y'all went to your League of Cities conference, there was some different notification apps brought back, if you will. We were using Nixle currently. I believe Commissioner Barnes presented iCity was one of them. I believe Vice Mayor Weller came back with eCity or ePublic or whatever it was. We looked at all of them versus what we were trying to accomplish with the Nixle. The Nixle system, which is one we're recommending, so we'll start with that one, is capable of doing like a reverse 911, if you will. Part of the startup fee they'll go out and get all the phone numbers. You'll get a notification at your home. You'll have the option to opt in or opt out of the system. If you opt out of the system, we get a list of everybody who opts out. So if they come up here and say, well, I was never notified about the boiled water notice, well, sorry, you opted out or somebody in your house did or your home did. It will also help us keep up as home phone numbers change. When we started surveying some different groups, we started talking about we'll use iCity for an example. That is a full-on app. That is an app you would download to your phone. We do not have somebody that's constantly managing an app. And like with most apps, if it stays stagnant on your phone, what are you going to do with it? You're going to get rid of it because you want to download a new song or something along those lines. With the Nixle, as we were talking to some of the different groups and the different demographics throughout town, some don't get texts on their cell phone. A lot of people don't check email still. Some people still don't even check the website, believe it or not, they don't. Some were really adamant on we want to be able to be notified at home. So we really dug deep into what we were trying to accomplish with this. There's been talk of the boiled water. There's been talk of this. There's been trying to get community outreach on different projects, different things we're trying to do. So Nixle has 3 different aspects. We have an alert system where we can do the calls to home. We can do voice to text. We can do one of our voices recorded to it, and you're getting the message at your house, or on your cell phone, in your email. It'll automatically upload a social media link. We can automatically upload it to our Facebook, PD's Facebook, the city Facebook. It will automatically publish to the city website. We can get real-time information using it that way. Some of the other apps will do that as well, but we don't have the capability of calling the home from the ones we've seen and not have that what they call an EAS push. The other aspect of Nixle is we can do an advisory. So if we'll use a hurricane, for example. If we're 5 days out on a hurricane or 72 hours out and they're wanting to put us on an advisory, we can send it out without sending a mass alert. Then there's the third aspect of it is we can do community notifications, community events. The holiday parade's coming up. Hey, don't forget about Pioneer Days, things like that. The other thing we liked about Nixle is Commissioner Barnes can log into his Nixle account, which he can go in and create, see his home number, he can update it on his own, he can update his cell phone on his own, his email on his own, but he only wants to get alerts to his home phone number. He doesn't want to get community events because he's going to get them on his cell phone or he's going to get them on his tablet. He can adjust out how he wants to receive his notification. So not only is it something we're going to be able to provide, it's going to give the citizens a certain amount of customization on how they want to be notified or how they want to be bothered, if you will. So in a nutshell, that's the Nixle. iCity is an application. It is an app that you would download to your smartphone. You would download. If you want to go that route, we're going to really need to look at having a content manager where we can get the information out on a more regular basis, if you will, so we can keep people interested in keeping the app. That's my biggest concern with that. We've looked at it. We've talked to some other people. That seems to be the biggest concern. Now, I don't remember the other one. It was like City Public or Public City or whatever it was, iPublic. That's more of a forum or a blog. That would be something that has its place, but that would be more something you would put on your website and people would interact with each other more of in that type of retrospect. So that is why we're presenting the Nixle. Yes, sir.
Who's going to set it up here and who sends the messages out?
Well, we can actually have multiple people do it. I can send them, once we get the account, we can actually have 25 different people, up to 25 different people that can
Admin?
be admin, if you will. So, of course, city manager would have one. I would assume I would have one. I would assume the police department would have one, and whoever else we deem necessary. Now, the nice thing about the Nixle thing is we can set up 25 private groups, and we can set up 25 public groups. So if if we need to get something out to the chamber as a group, or an outreach, if you will, we can just to that group, chamber or whatever, Rotary, any of those.
What's the time frame? Something happens, water mains breaks, flooding downtown.
I can do it from my smartphone and have it up and running and out the door, hitting your home within 15.
Okay, and then that was really my biggest question, how fast, but you can do it from the smartphone, you don't have to come into the office.
I could do it from my smartphone, I could do it from one of their laptops. We'll have laptops in our vehicles within the next 2 weeks at this point in time.
So it's a login, and then you pick a group or that it is, and you say, fire this message out.
Yes, sir. We can, however, Nick's, this is part of the fee too for the first year, is they're gonna help us set everything up. They're gonna do all the data collection as far as the home phone numbers, verify they're right. They're gonna set up the messages to call out. They're gonna help us get all that stuff set up. They're gonna help us get our group set up. They're gonna do stuff with whoever we decide are gonna be administrators and set it up. The other thing where I was going with the private group is we could have, even though it's public record, but as a private group, we could have a commission notification, if you will, that wouldn't go out with the rest of the general masses, if you will.
That's okay.
Just for instance, Public Works is on a water line break right now. We're hitting the threshold of possibly issuing a boil water. Now you're up to snuff of what we're doing, and then you'll get the notification like everybody else. So there's different ways we can do it.
Last question. You can get it put out pretty quickly.
Yes, sir.
When you started talking about what options people will have, it's my suggestion, just a suggestion, that don't go with what Nixle may suggest, and that is send them all these applications and then let them weed it down. I would rather like to see them weed it up, like get the notifications, and then if they decide they want to log in, create their own other notices, I think. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually, Angel's suggestion with Nixle is we go ahead and make the phone calls, do the home notification. Really don't make that an option because we really want to be able to drive this home. They'll have the option to opt out, but then come back and do a flyer or a mail out. It's hey, if you want more, go into here's your flyer. You can log into Nixle. Here's the information on how to go through step by step, and you can go in and set up your account.
Okay.
That was their suggestion.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
We need a motion to approve this, Ed?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve utilizing Nixle for community notifications.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions?
Public.
Anyone from the public have any questions? I think y'all ready to go home. Okay, all in favor, come back saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay. Item number 8, establish alternate dates for November and December City Commissioner meeting. And auditor complex.
Because we only have one meeting on those 2 months, we're looking for, I know in December, like the third Thursday.
Looking at December 1st or November?
Jenny's recommendation was November 20th
Yes.
for the second meeting in November, so that it doesn't fall on Thanksgiving. Because the second meeting of both months would fall on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
So we're going to do it on the 13th and the 20th? That's what you're saying?
So in November, then you would have back-to-back meetings if that's what you did.
Hmm? Yes.
Yes.
So Thanksgiving is on the...
And then she recommended just having one meeting in December then.
You've done that in the past, haven't you?
Yes, we have. So she recommended one meeting in November also, what you saying?
Well, that's up to you.
her recommendation was if you're going to have a second meeting in November, obviously not to have it on Thanksgiving, and so to keep it on a Thursday, which would result in back-to-back meetings. Your regular meeting on the 13th, and then change the meeting from the 27th to the 20th.
Mr. Manager, think we'll need 2 meetings in November?
Can you
I
set
don't
them?
think so. We've done a lot of business.
Do one meeting, my suggestion, Mr. Mayor, do one meeting each month, and if you need another meeting, call a special meeting.
Right.
I'm in agreement with that.
So November 13th and what?
And December the 11th?
11.
Okay. Sounds good to me. So we need that in a motion?
If you could, are you saying December the 11th?
Yes, December the 11th and November the 13th.
Okay. There is a slight possibility I may not be able to make it. I have a daughter who's giving birth to twins.
Tell her to wait.
I'll tell the babies to wait.
Actually, cesarean, so, you know, but,
Spoken like a guy.
it'll probably, the due date is the 15th, so it'd probably be earlier.
I'll make a motion to have one meeting in November on the 13th and one meeting in December on the 11th. And if needed, call a special meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? And then all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 9. Consider the installation of a 4-way stop on Northwest 10th Street.
Northwest 10th, and I think that was 4th Avenue? Second Avenue. I was in that neighborhood, I put this on the agenda, and I was in that neighborhood, and I ended up talking to Mr. Richards, and saw a lot of traffic coming through there very fast. And I came back another day and sat a block away, and I saw that again too. While I could probably do that on half a dozen or more corners in this town, what's our option for putting, what is a requirement that we would have as a small city to decide, do we get those,
If we have enough complaints,
to get those rubber things you put in the road and count the traffic things, or?
We actually are dealing with another location, Northwest 6th Street and Northwest 6th Avenue. The proper process would come to the police department so that we can conduct the traffic study in terms of to see if there's a need from that particular area, and then from there we forward it on to the city manager's office.
To be honest with you, anytime I get a number of complaints or a commissioner, 4-way stops are not a bad thing. They slow traffic down. I know I've got the entire neighborhood wanting to put in a school zone on 230th, and I'm going to start that process. The number of cars, there are literally more cars on 230th during school than there is on 236, the highway.
I would say, as myself, as a commissioner, I would probably, and I would vote for recommending the 4-way stop at that corner. But the other commissioners today haven't seen that. They haven't gone out there. They haven't observed it. So I don't want to make a motion to say to do that. The public can maybe speak to it, but I would support that. It was an interesting, I didn't spend a day there, interesting hour and an interesting hour a couple of days later to watch that traffic.
But you obviously got a complaint.
Yeah.
So, we say we'd be glad to.
You can.
Yes, sir.
So real quick, this is why I talked to Mr. Barnes about it. There's 3 issues on that intersection. First one is that the traffic, it's a very high traffic area because the gas station on 1st and 9th is very busy. we have a lot of people going in and out Second Avenue to get to that gas station, buy their beer, cigarettes, whatever. So it's a very high traffic area to go to that, which is the only place close to get cigarettes, beer, whatever. Okay, that's the first point. Second point, we have almost all rentals in that intersection, okay? So nobody's gonna complain, they don't even know what's going on. The problem we have with some of the rentals in that area, and I'll give you an example, on 10th Street and 3rd Avenue, there's anywhere between 5 and 6 cars that are just in that one residence. It's a rental property, and it seems to get a lot of traffic from those people. The third thing, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, about 3 or 4 months ago, we had an issue on 2nd Avenue and 11th Avenue, next to where JR's farm is, okay? That was a drug house. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. I don't know with High Springs and I believe Alachua County put those people in jail. They had kids there, but there was a high traffic area of drugs, okay? There's still trafficking over there. The police department's well aware of the situation over there. They're doing everything they can, but again, I can only speak for my neighborhood. That is a high traffic area for those 3 reasons. We have kids going from down 2nd Avenue to the park, okay? And then we have a lot of pedestrian traffic going to the gas station, because again, that's the only place to get groceries and other things. So for those reasons, that's why I'm asking for a 4-way stop sign to slow these people down. Now, in my house, I can view from where I sit at night or from outside, I can view 2nd Avenue and 10th. Both my windows are in that intersection. And I mean, these people fly down that street. And those 3 reasons I gave you is what's driving that traffic. It's slowed down a little since they closed the drug house down, but they're still, I've been offered drugs at least 3 times in the last 3 months. And I know it's down there. I don't know exactly where it's at, but the police department do. I know they're working. I've talked to a couple officers. So again, I know you talk about 4-way stops, but I think this intersection in particular, for those reasons, it's important to slow these people down. I appreciate it.
We'll put one up.
Yeah, because this is not the first time we had issue. I think we put a 4-way stop down there by the pastor down there by First United Methodist Parsonage. Then we, a few years back. Yeah, so it's not the first time we had issues with that street being so busy. So I don't have a problem with putting a 4-way stop down there to slow the traffic down. Yes, sir.
Mike Kearney again. Yeah, it's interesting you brought this up because I have some property right in that area too, and I almost think it would be great if there was some way wherever we have, because it's all residential, where we have stop signs going one way, they should all be made all 4 stop, all 4 ways. Because one of the confusions you have is some of the streets are only stopped 2 ways, and then the next one can be 4 ways. If it's all residential, I mean, except we got to buy signs, and it would sure as heck slow traffic down, especially the drug guys. But why can't we do that in this, like you got a residential area, and just think about that. Got to go slow, got to stop.
It's a high traffic area because you've got people cutting through there to go to Winn-Dixie, to Plaza, to Fourth. Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm coming up on the street, and then I got to look to see which is there stop sign here or not, you know, because some of them are one way or some of the other.
But if you get enough tickets, I think it'll come back to your memories.
Well, if you want to.
I remember when they did 9th Street, the 2 signs, that second sign on 9th Street.
But my question is, I guess would be to, maybe the attorney, can you have a 4-way stop at every?
You can. It's your decision.
Not a good idea.
That's what I think. That's why it keep going through my mind.
I'll make a motion to put a 4-way stop at the intersection of 2nd Avenue and 10th Street.
I'll second that.
Okay, for discussion. So,
For discussion.
yeah, because I'm trying to figure out how, that next street, if there's a 4-way stop there.
One at 10th and 4th. So you're coming in off of First. Second is a 2-way stop coming into 10th. Third is a 2-way stop coming into 10th. And 4th is a 4-way stop.
Right. And I think that next street down by,
10th and 4th, and then that's a dead end, and kind of makes that meander to the right, and comes up off of, I think it's 6th.
Yes, sir.
I just want to reiterate one thing. I'm talking about this intersection, and I'm giving you the reasons behind this intersection. I can't speak to four-way stops everywhere, but I just want you to understand that this particular intersection is a problem, and everything surrounded, all the rest is where it's going in and out. This is the problem, this particular corner. I mean, there's a lot of places that don't have stop signs that I'm aware of. No problems that I can tell. This particular intersection, there's just too many things happening in that intersection. So I just want to make it clear that this particular intersection is what I'm concerned about.
Just caution the commission, we're opening up some floodgates here. Mr. Deloach at Northwest 6th Avenue and 6th Street has followed the proper process by contacting us by doing a study. So if we're gonna do this for this gentleman, Mr. Deloach might also, and other folks, without looking at the intersection and doing a traffic study. So it's in your hands.
In this case, what I would do is, when they made a motion, I would come to you and say, do a study.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna look at it. We're gonna study it. It's a very good possibility of
What are
doing
you
it.
gonna, can I ask what you're gonna study?
The traffic flow.
And how do you study the traffic flow? This has to be monitored at least 15, 16 hours a day.
Because they put the little, what you call them little things in the road?
And that's gonna determine the speed limit that these people are going?
No, not the speed, that's gonna
Well,
determine the
that's why we do
traffic.
it through the police department.
Right.
Okay?
Actually,
That's-
they do if there's two.
Ma'am.
So that we're gonna follow procedure and do it through the police
I
department.
understand what you're saying, but I mean, there's other issues that are causing me up here to do that.
Understand.
And that's the drug enforcement, that's the people going to the gas station, buying their beer and flying down the road.
And
So I
that's
just
the
want-
organization
I don't
should be
know-
out there.
Sure, but I just want to make sure that's part of the study. I don't know how you could study that problem. You see what I'm saying?
No, but what you need, for this, we refer to the police chief with the police department.
Well, I understand. I'm just asking how you study these issues that I bring to you other than the flow of traffic.
I give that to the police chief to do.
Okay, my question is, how is he going to do it?
No, you need to set up an appointment with him.
He will, I'm quite sure the police officers have their way of doing their stuff when it's a drug area or activities in the neighborhood, but they don't want to tell the whole world
Oh, no, I
what they're
understand
doing.
that.
So,
As long as those issues are addressed in the study that they're doing is all I'm asking.
yeah, he wants, he hear you. Mr. Commissioner Barnes?
Do we have is there a policy or procedure or an ordinance or a resolution that tells you how to apply for a four-way stop?
I can tell you that this issue came up with Mr. Deloach, and then I contacted Archie Dillingham and Jenny Parham to find out the process, and David Benton, and that's the process that we have to do for the stop sign, because we're doing that at Northwest 6th Avenue.
Is that written somewhere?
I can't tell you whether it's written or not. But it is past practice.
But you just said there's a policy. Follow the procedure.
Yes, sir, I did.
If I'm not mistaken, this was started back right around the time of Chief Kamenskis. I believe it was a DOT recommendation on how to determine what should have a four-way stop and what should have a two-way stop, and trying to figure out flow of traffic and things along those lines. There's several concerns on when you're adding stop signs, taking stop signs away, adding speed bumps, changing speed limits that have to be addressed, and a lot of it does have to do with route and flow of vehicles, and not only everyday residential vehicles, but how's it going to affect your emergency response, and which directions are they going to go, and how are they going to try to address how they're getting there? If you put, I will tell you right now, if you sat here and said we're going to four-way stop everything, I'm going to stand up here and jump up and down and say no, because it's going to take us 25 minutes to get anywhere. I mean, hit the gas, stop, go. It's not feasible at all times. I can tell you the intersection that he is referring to, we've had some issues down there, whether it's been for whatever reason. But these have been the practices. I don't know if there's still a policy in place or how all this got started. That was just the way we've done it. We were contacted.
Well, I'm a little taken aback here, but I put this on here. I start talking about it. City manager says to me, well, did you have a complaint? I bring a customer up or a resident up and he starts talking about it, says all about the complaint. We start talking about, and I said, I started my conversation with saying, I could probably say we could have 4 ways at corners all over the place. Well, if you had a complaint, just, we'll take care of it. I get all through, make the motion. And this police chief says, I recommend you follow the procedure. Why didn't you bring that up in the beginning? Thank you.
Well, let's not point fingers. Let's come on. I think we can walk through this and everybody can be satisfied. Come on, it's not about pointing fingers, about somebody says something. Do the study, see what we can do. If it's a possibility, put it out. We'll put it there. I don't think it's just. We don't make this out of. So you got a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Aye. So could you do the study and determine if it's possible for us to put a 4-way stop there?
That motion failed. No. Because you voted yes or no?
Vote no.
No and no?
Yes.
And 2 yes.
Said failed.
Failed.
Fail. But so we're gonna take it into consideration. They're gonna do a study and see what we can do for them. Huh? No, I don't. Okay. Let's move right on to item number 10, consider approval of the CRA board recommendation for CRA project.
Yes, sir. I think it takes approval by the commission. This has to do with our goals, objectives, and what the projects are over the next 3 years. Actually, it's 2 years now. And it has been approved by the CRA board already at their last meeting.
Okay, so you need the commissions to approve this.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we all sit on the CRA board and we're familiar with this. Commission, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the CRA board recommendations for CRA projects amended through 2016.
Give me a second.
Second it for discussion.
Okay, you've got a motion and a second for discussion. Okay, any questions, discussion?
It's as I recall in the last CRA meeting, wasn't this the part where it was discussed or mentioned by our city attorney that it has to be approved by the county commission before it can be approved?
That was the 10-year plan. This is simply the 3-year.
But we were making changes to the the current plan, and
if you want to make changes to the plan, then yes, that has to go to the county for approval. This is the project. And so these projects are all
fitting within that, the goals, and doesn't affect anything?
Yes, so you can change the project.
Right.
You just can't change your plan.
Right.
Any other questions, comments? Anyone from the audience? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. All right. Moving on to item 11, consider renewal of the interlocal agreement for repair and service the traffic light and beacons.
This is a normal, every year we get this same agreement. This is simply an agreement, we get the money from DOT and then we have an agreement to repair the traffic lights and beacons.
Okay.
I thought we already did this. I thought that was already approved.
It had, this is another one that came through. They must have lost the last one they sent.
Oh, okay.
I don't, it's DOT.
What can you say? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the interlocal agreement for repair and service of the traffic signals and beacons.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Any discussions or questions? Anyone from the audience? Hearing none, all in favor, come by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, City Attorney report and updates.
First, as we discussed earlier in our special meeting, your city attorney's office would like to call a shade meeting pursuant to Florida statute section 286.011 to get the advice and direction from the city commission on 2 pending lawsuits, one with North End Development LLC and the other with Capital City Bank. I would propose that we would hold this meeting on October 23rd, which is our next regular commission date, and that we would do this prior to our regular meeting.
At what time?
5:30.
That gonna leave enough time?
We can start at 5 if you would like
Can
to
we?
do that. Yeah. Along that same vein, earlier, Mr. Walker during that meeting was commending your finance director for all of her hard work on that. And I would also just like to add to that Ginger Travers in our permitting office has worked tirelessly on this project for a very long time and sorting through a lot of documents. We have also developed a public records policy that Jenny Parham, your city clerk, who's in charge of public records, is going to review for us to discuss and then bring it back for you all. And we are also working on drafting a social media policy for the city of High Springs. And that's all I've got.
Okay, any questions for the attorneys?
So that's sufficient, what you've done now to just schedule the shade meeting?
For shade meeting, all that we're required to do is at a public meeting for the city attorney's office to announce that they desire your
Thank you.
counsel and that it will be on 2 cases that are active. And we will, I'll work with Jenny and Angela to make sure that that's properly posted pursuant to the statute. We'll have a court reporter here. We will open it. The meeting will open as a public meeting, then your mayor will close the public meeting. We'll have our shade meeting. The only people allowed in the shade meeting will be the 5 members of the commission, your city manager, and your city attorney, and the court reporter to take all that down. Soon thereafter, the court reporter will have transcribed that and produced that for the city, which will not be subject to public record until after the termination of the litigations.
Good.
Okay.
Nothing further?
You have anything? All right, Mr. Attorney, Mr. City
You
Manager.
got, this afternoon I delivered to the Gainesville Economic Development Committee a package that contained 2 parcels of 85 acres each. They had to be near 441 and close to the interstate. This has to do with the corporation looking to relocate hundreds of jobs. You know, we're on a short list, which means we're one of many, but we're out there and people are starting to look. So that was a positive. We think they're always on a short notice, you know. They give us a month, but in this case, they gave us 2 hours. Well, it tells us that the Gainesville Economic Development Committee is also working for us. We have Duke Energy also working, so somewhere along the line we'll get some new business. We have a new Christmas tree that's going up in the next day or 2, a little straighter than the last one.
What? You're gonna mess with the little tree?
Well, we're keeping it there.
Oh,
So we're just going to add to it. There's going to be a straighter tree that could be the actually official Christmas tree.
landmark tree for us.
202 is being paved as we speak. And we've had a number of people concerned about the traffic, the speeding on that particular street. However, if we still have a dummy, we may put a car out there with lights. I'll work that one out, but we'll slow them down a little bit, maybe.
I won't say nothing on that.
All right, sir. Then, you have in front of you, in addition to the paving contract, we did budget it the $100,000. I'll put that on the agenda next meeting. What this would do is go ahead and pave the last large remaining streets. We did put in for 100 trucks of the ground asphalt to do the smaller roads, shorter roads, because in doing the paving you need long stretches. The short roads just don't work. So we'll take the ground asphalt and take a roller and go ahead and make those up. Those are in pretty. They make good roads. On the 8th of November, have an organization. It is the High Springs Mission Society. They're asking to go into the Civic Center so they can have meals for the elderly, and that's Thanksgiving meals, and I'm going to approve that without cost if there's no objection to the council. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Bonner?
Oh, yes, we have these. And I did deliver these to the Gainesville Chamber of Commerce today when I was giving the packet off. So we want to get these out to the welcome centers around.
Who did this?
The visit on the back, Visit Gainesville did the cost for doing this. This is the organization that's funded by the room tax. And so we have never really hit them up for much. This is one. So we'll make sure that all the realtors get some, and
can we,
we'll make sure the police department, if they can hand one out when they give a ticket.
Oh, great.
No. All right, well, okay. Not all my ideas are great.
Can we put some out to Jenny Springs?
Absolutely, sir.
Please.
We can take them all over.
Out to Jenny Springs.
Yep.
They can kind of know what's going on up in the city.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Bonner?
Might as well. I was approached by a couple of citizens about doing a business youth coalition, getting businesses involved with young people, like similar to what we've done at the Great Outdoors, where they've come in as waiters. I don't know if you've ever been here for one of those. They go around and shadow the waiters, see how they do it. Got into this discussion with some people about taking them out to ThemeWorks for an hour or two and having them shadow the people at ThemeWorks and get our businesses involved in doing that. So an auto shop, cabinet shop, get them to where they could learn a vocation, see what it is, and I'm thinking about doing that next year. But I made a promise to somebody I'd bring it up here and work it in with the Mayor's Youth Council, try and get some people in and do something to get them
Shadow
involved.
the guys out at the sewer plant.
Put them in jeans and put them out on the sewer plant.
Put them out on the roads. Yeah.
Let them stand on top of the sewer plant and smell that.
Mm.
Get some customers.
Believe it or not, that's not.
I have nothing else.
That's not a bad
It's-
smelling sewer plant.
No.
I
It's
mean,
not.
I've not my first sewer plant, and that one smells pretty good, actually.
It's just,
I'm done.
Sewer.
I'm done.
just a thought.
Done.
Okay. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We all received a letter from Dr. Owen Roberts, Superintendent of Schools. There's a forum at the Civic Center on the 16th of this month, 7:30. And I know that all the commission's been invited, just as a reminder, if we can go. Be a good thing. That's it.
The only thing I would add on that is it's all the citizens. It's just not for it's just not for parents of kids who go to school. The forum is for all the citizens to come and basically voice an opinion on what you would like to see the schools provide and what vision you would like the schools to go to. So that's why it's open to everyone and just not parents of kids. So thank you, Ms. Gestrin, for that.
Yes. And that's also for.
I'm done.
For businesses also to come. They can share their ideas. Okay, I just have one thing. I will, not maybe, I will be taking vacation. Long overdue. Long overdue. So I won't be here for the meeting on the 23rd. October 23rd. So my phone will be off. Angela? No, well, Linda. Make sure Linda know on my phone will be off. That's all I have. If there's nothing else to come before the board. Yes, ma'am.
Miss Alexander asked me that if it was approved for the High Spring Mission to have their annual Thanksgiving, she wanted me to make sure that I invite you all again for that event on that 8th.
It is, I just told the.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, after you approved it, she wanted me to make sure that I invite you all again for that event, and someone can give greetings from the city.
Sit this down. All right, I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
No, ma'am, you can't talk anymore.
Boy, this is a long one, huh?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yes.
Oh. Oh. All right. Well, we survived.
Yes.
Yes, sir.